confidence to pull it off. Morton calls good game.
Unbelievable.
Sergio Ramos wins! First ever CRL World Champion!
Team Liquid is going to be your champion! Mugi 2021!
He's done it! Mohamed Light, World Champion!
It's the moment we rise. Come together tonight. Let a flame that we keep it burning strong. We are the best of the best. We will not back down our rest. Till we drink from the
The Clash Royale League starts now!
Six seasons played in 2023, 6 golden tickets awarded, and 6 spots on the leaderboard secured to get to Clash Royale League World Finals this November. But today, it's the last monthly final, the last chance for 6 more players to earn that berth and a chance at ultimate glory. Hello and welcome to Clash Royale League, the last monthly final here in September. I'm Rich Slayton, joined by Joshua A.C. Sharon and Jackson Juicy J. Wall to bring you what's going to be an absolute banger of a weekend. Juicy, I know you're really pumped to see if these 6 players, who out of them can grab glory on this beautiful weekend.
You know, there's a lot of kind of underdogs, and there's a lot of players that have their final chance to get that golden ticket and their final chance to get some points to get on that leaderboard. I mean, the player that I'm looking towards the most here, he's got to be Vitor75. I think he's got the highest chance to get the golden ticket this month.
Josh, Vitor's definitely in the mix, but of course one of your good friends, Air Surfer, currently in a position to make the World Finals, but has to sit at home and watch it happen and see if his fate rolls the right way.
He is so ready for this, and he is not excited whatsoever. I've been talking to him this past week, these past couple weeks, and you know, every time he does well, I send him a congratulatory text, and he says it doesn't matter because I haven't qualified yet. And so he's just waiting. He is rooting so hard against the people. To put it nicely, he just wishes they do well, but not good enough to knock him out.
Well, let's go ahead and see where we've been and where we're going. A lot to cover today. Josh, take us through what got us to this exact moment.
That's right. Let's take a look at the roadmap. Every single month we see it. You know, you finish top 1,000, you get invited, and you have to send in your qualifications to actually make it to the next round. Then we have the monthly qualifier. It's going to be a 2-day competition, moves it from the top 1,000 to the top 8, and here we are. It's the monthly finals, double elimination. Can you win that golden ticket? Can you get the points? And then it's the world finals, baby. We are almost there. It's going to be the same style as we always see. It's going to be 8-player double elimination, best of 3 dual format, 4 unique decks. What does that mean? Well, if you use a hog in game number 1, you can't use it in game 2 or 3. So very simple, and man, I am just ready for this action to start.
Heading into the golden ticket winners, the golden ticket winners so far this year, you got Mohamed Light, Pandora, Pedro, Mugi, Arden Toas, and Samuel Basoto. September champion is to be decided this weekend. We also have the leaderboard. Rich, talking to me about the leaderboard and how the players can accumulate points to also qualify for the World Finals.
And folks, this is going to be a bit complicated, so buckle up. As you can see on our leaderboard, Faust, Morton, Sosa, Ruben, and Air Surfer, not to mention Vitor as well, all currently in those top 7 spots, but only the top 6 have actually clinched a spot for World Finals. That number 7 spot for Air Surfer is up for grabs, and there are 2 players who can take it away from him first. You see in 8th place, Wallace needs to finish top 4. If he finishes top 4, he moves past Air Surfer and bumps him out of contention for World Finals, but not on this screen at the moment. If we go to our 9th through 16th ranked players, look in 11th place, Ian77, the Hog Master, has only one way on points that he can make World Finals, and that is by making 2nd place. That would give him enough points to tie Air Surfer, but due to tiebreakers, Ian would take the win and move into the top 7. Of course, Ian can win a golden ticket, Wallace can win a golden ticket. Vitor could even win a golden ticket and open up some more possibilities, but that is something that could happen. What will happen as we go into our bracket is a lot of matches with a lot of stress today, because we do have 3 players who are in contention for points, obviously. Ian trying to make his points, Vitor already qualified on points, and Wallace trying to push. But you see the 4 players in blue, all 4 of those players are championship or go home. Black Pearl, Cody Go, Sub, and Inthril. They all need a golden ticket. That is their only way to make it to World Finals. They either have to win this entire competition or come second to Mohamed Light, as so many other people have done this year. And we kick things off with a killer matchup, Mo versus Black Pearl. Then we get into the new guard versus the old guard, Ian versus longtime CRL veteran in Cody Go. Then we go to a battle of the players who speak Portuguese, Vitor from Portugal, Sub from Brazil. Then finally, Vitor's former teammate at Pain Gaming, Wallace, takes on the sniper extraordinaire in Inthril. So we've got a whole lot of fun stuff going on. 4 great matches to kick things off. Juicy, I'll start with you. Out of our 4 early matches, is there one match that really gets you excited for today?
Honestly, I think the match that gets me the most excited is probably gotta be... it's tough, man. I gotta go for the last one. The last match with Wallace and Inthril, I think that's probably the closest one on the day. Obviously, Inthril definitely probably a bit of an underdog, and Wallace needing to get top 4 to secure the points leaderboard. But I think that's probably the closest match of the day, and it's probably the one I'm most excited for here.
Josh, of our 4 players who need to win a golden ticket, I see you're picking Cody Go here in match number 2. That might answer my question. My question was going to be, which of those 4 underdogs is the most likely to win a golden ticket? Are you going to go with Cody Go as your predictions give us?
I think it has to be Cody Go, because Cody Go has, you know, a couple people also share it as well. But I mean, he is a veteran of the scene. He streams, he grinds. I was taking a look at his broadcast the other week, and it was like 9 days in a row where he streamed himself playing at least 2 to 3 hours of Clash Royale. Yeah, most players don't have it public how much they practice, but Cody Go, it's just obvious, it's right in front of you. He wants this. And look, as a veteran, some players might choke, some players might shy away from the spotlight. That's not going to happen from Cody Go. He's still going to play his game.
And that's a really good point here. Of all of our players who are needing to get a golden ticket, Cody Go is actually maybe the most experienced player of all the players here this weekend. Played for Cream in CRL Latin America, where they took second to Vivo Keed. Played all through CRL teams in 2019 and 2020. So the most experienced player here is one of the guys who needs to win that golden ticket. But speaking of golden tickets, of the players we're seeing today, only one has already secured a golden ticket. And of course, he's secured multiple golden tickets. That is the defending world champion Mohamed Light up against Black Pearl, aka Lucas with a K, out of Germany, who's part of that crew of friends with OP Sam and Morton and Big Spin and Faust, but of course has not ever reached the heights of those players. Josh, is this the biggest underdog match we've had against Mohamed Light this year?
I think it has to be. I mean, if we take a look at Black Pearl's spot on the CRL leaderboards, he is no longer... okay, so I think he's probably about 150th after the points have been awarded. Currently, he is 172nd on the leaderboards before this monthly finals points have been awarded. And Mohamed Light is first by a mile. So we have just 2 completely opposite ends of the spectrum right there. The only thing is, Black Pearl, he runs a bunch of heavy decks. He can really put Mohamed Light in awkward spots because Black Pearl really only stays heavy. So if Mohamed Light doesn't really factor, I mean, we know he's going to factor in, but if he doesn't attack that, we could see something crazy happen.
And Juicy, we saw something some might call crazy last month. It was Mohamed Light not winning a monthly final he participated in, losing not just once, but twice to Samuel Basoto and not taking that championship. Is that a crack in the armor of the champion as we end our regular season?
Absolutely. I mean, we were all surprised to see Samuel win that matchup versus Mohamed Light. I think that the more time goes on, the more Mohamed Light's going to be able to adapt to that Evo meta, though. You talked about the meta a little bit on how it's a lot more beatdown oriented, which is why players like Black Pearl have kind of taken shape and been able to insert themselves in this monthly finals this month. But with Moonlight, he's the best player in the world. He's gotten a lot of time to practice in this last month since that loss last month. And I think he's going to be good to go in this new EVO meta. I saw him actually playing in the Swiss last weekend, and he was starting every best of 3 with Goblin Giant Sparky. And it's just insane to see Moonlight do that. He's the king of control. But I'm definitely going to root for him as he does more of that this weekend.
Well, of course, the meta has taken a big shift. Josh, talking about that meta overall, it does feel like we've maybe finally moved away from the cycle meta that has really dominated the game for so long into maybe a mixture of a beatdown and kind of not necessarily what you would call bridge spam, not a battle ram deck, although that's back, but a much more spammy and heavy deck-oriented meta than we've had for quite a while.
I mean, I've seen 3 Musketeers be used. I've seen Golem be used. There are so many. I mean, I think it's Enthrill in this top 8 where he used Royal Recruits Evo in every single set in the top 32. So we're seeing a lot of decks get heavy usage, and I'm so excited to see because, I mean, especially for me, because I wasn't able to see last month, things have changed so much in the past 2 months of the monthly finals that it really is just... It's a fresh game, and I'm ready to see what happens this weekend.
Well, we're just about ready to go into our game, and here we go. The defending world champion against the best dressed player in all of Clash Royale League. I'm going to go ahead and say that right now. Black Pearl looking snazzy here on this Saturday morning. And Josh, as we see the openings here, Goblin Gang, not super surprising. Skarmy in the mix here for Black Pearl.
That's right, using Skarmy and Skeleton King, Goblin Gang and Skeleton King. So not necessarily a mirror matchup so far, but it does look like both players might be going Mortar, especially with the Miner on offense right there. Barb's not going to be able to protect the Dark Goblin in time.
Interesting note here, the best deck for Black Pearl during Season 7 was Mortar Miner, but playing guards. Why do you picture maybe the switch from guards to Skeleton Army in this deck?
You know, that's a good question. I think we could see that just because if Black Pearl is ready for Muhammad Light's decks, maybe Skarmy just works better because you need that absolute pressure. Skarmy's a great card because you can go so aggro, opposite lane, you're spending 15 elixir on the left side, you only have 3 elixir for defense. Sometimes the Skarmy is enough, so he could try and set himself up with those kind of positions in this game.
Miner to the back, Skeleton Army tries to split the difference, but will end up giving some splash, 24-52 on the left-hand side. Muhammad Light taking an early lead as we pass the midway point of regulation time.
Yeah, still pretty good split right there. The Flying Machine only, or the Skeleton Dragons only got 1 shot right there. And right now, this Dark Goblin is putting in a ton of work. That's going to be something that Muhammad Light has to utilize throughout this game, and we know he absolutely will. Evoed Barb's going to be able to clean up everything really nicely and still get a decent counter push going. We'll see if he wants to mortar behind these Barbs.
And that opposite lane Goblin Gang was absolutely massive, chunking that right-hand tower down to almost half its health with just 3 elixir aside on the opposite lane from a Cannon Cart Skeleton King push. So that was one more moment of Muhammad Light just recognizing the situation and absolutely taking control. And you can see Black Pearl kind of nodding his head a little bit as he's experiencing what so many others have experienced, the dual lane pressure of our former world champ.
Oh, and right there, Muhammad Light is actually going to mess up that interaction. Still going to force out the arrows right there, though. But still, I mean, look, these the Skeleton King plus the Skeleton Dragons, they just clean up everything so nicely. Right there, both Skeleton Dragons staying alive. And, I mean, Muhammad Light is just putting on a clinic right now.
So far, throwing an absolute shutout. No damage on either tower for Muhammad Light. Evolved Mortar now out for Black Pearl. We'll see what kind of pressure he gets on. The Miner goes for the tower, but turns back around for the barbs. This evolved mortar, nope, is not going to get a retarget. I believe Skeleton King down in time. Fireball trying to clean up here at the bridge. As we are in sudden death overtime, it is Mohamed Light playing defense, but so far so good.
Oh my goodness, we see him sit back and it looks like he's even slightly yelling because he just messed that up so bad. Mortar going to be placed too low, not going to lock onto the tower, and all of a sudden, instead of having insane pressure over and over again at the bridge, he now has to completely reset, and you just cannot make those mistakes against Mo Light.
That cannon cart turning into its second phase, certainly hurting the hopes of Black Pearl. Here we go, final minute on its way, triple elixir about to flow. A perfect game so far for Mohamed Light. Black Pearl needs to find some way to change the script, but at the moment he is facing an onslaught of troops down this right-hand side.
Yeah, the Skarmy is great at defense, but it's not going to be good enough. Will he go with the arrows? And he does. He's going to clean everything up nicely. I honestly was just saying the arrows for the tower just to chip it away, just so he doesn't have to look at 30-52, 30-52, but that's what's going to happen. Mo Light with a perfect game one.
You know, if there's anything that's scarier than Mohamed Light over the last 2 years, it's Mohamed Light with the frustration of having lost last month and come out this first game making a statement. You're not going to touch a single thing. I am the Pharaoh. Let's go.
Oh, wow. I'm getting chills right now. This is, we're not seeing a smile from Mohamed Light whatsoever. He is just locked in, taking a sip from his glass like he always does. There we go. There's the little smile from Mohamed Light. But yeah, that was a great game number one. Only one slight mistake where he wasn't able to protect the Dark Goblin. Other than that, that was 3.5 minutes of perfection from him.
Is this Three Musketeers versus Royal Giant? Seeing the pump come out from Mohamed Light, not super common.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. He got Pump in the earliest starting hand position he could possibly have, so that's a great situation for Mo. And he even could go 3M at the bridge. It's not very common, and right there, we're not going to see it. He's just going to kind of reset right there. But that could have... Oh, wow!
Wow!
That's a nice rage right there. He knew he was going to protect the Mother Witch, and he didn't let that happen.
And this is so interesting, Josh, because we're going back to CRL 2018. When 3M Battle Ram was a central part of the meta, one of the most popular decks of the year, and I feel like we're in a time warp right now.
Yeah, this is beautiful for me. This month has just been so insane. Right there, another great rage. One of the barbs taking out all the skellies and still gonna touch the tower. So, I mean, Black Pearl, he's gotten damage on the towers this time, but it's still looking Mohamed Light's way, just all the way.
And we'll see what he does to reset here. Going with a pretty fast cycle variation of Royal Giant with the skeletons and the Electro Spirit in the mix. Will he go ahead and lightning that on the right-hand side? And opting instead to set up for a push in the left-hand lane and see if he can find this opening. Royal Giant, not quite enough. Will it come in behind all this? There we go.
It will, and it's going to force out the recruits. He couldn't go the 3M because he knew that the Monk was going to protect it with its ability, but Hunter plus recruits, yes, you're giving up a lot of damage, but now you have a counter push on both lanes. I do not think Black Pearl can stop this.
Counter push, plus don't forget the pump that's healthy and giving a lot of extra elixir now that Black Pearl really can't contend with. This is a huge problem for him, and now Mo just throws pressure upon pressure. GG, well played. Welcome to Clash Royale League, Black Pearl.
Wow. Wow. Mohamed Light played that perfectly. It is not regular where I am just at a loss of words from Mohamed Light's gameplay. It's usually special, but that was otherworldly. That was a great first set from him.
Absolute, just a boulder rolling downhill through a field of grass, taking everything out. This is what you want to see from Mohamed Light. And man, you know, of all the people, you're looking at the seeding as you go into a weekend like this, and I wonder how long it took Black Pearl to realize that his first round matchup was going to be against the defending world champion, because that's hard for anybody, and definitely a rude welcome to the big leagues.
Before this month started, he had, what is it? He had like 75 points or something. This is just the 172nd ranked player on the CRL leaderboards going against the first ranked player. And look, we talk about matchups within this game and how important that it is to get the correct matchups. It really did not matter right there. It just showed that Mohamed Light's skill level, if you're not top 10 in the world, it won't matter what the matchup is going to be.
Well, you talk about that, some of those decision making, right? And there's all these different questions of what makes Mohamed Light special. And I've always said that in a big way, it's the decision making ability. And in that first game, we saw the moment where there was all this pressure left-hand lane, and the majority of players would be focused entirely on that. He knew he could defend it cheaply and sent the Goblin Gang down the right-hand side to take a tower down to about half health. Right, and so it's those kind of moments, that kind of macro understanding that really makes Mohamed Light special, and we ended up seeing just some difference in, there's levels to this, Josh, as we say often. We saw some difference in those levels. Here's game number 1, mortar for mortar, but Josh, it was Mohamed Light coming out on top.
Yeah, that's right. And I think game number 1, a lot of it comes down to the protection of the skeleton dragons. There was plenty of times where the flying machine was trying to get value, but then the skeleton dragons would be placed in the middle of the bridge and they would take out the flying machine really quickly, or he'd have the skeleton king in front of them to tank, because Black Pearl, he only had arrows. He had to use the arrows either on the Goblin Gang or the Dark Goblin, and every time the skeleton dragons were just cleaning up all the troops on the board.
Then we go on to game number 2, and we're seeing something a little bit different here. Is Black Pearl, we have not seen people going with champions as much now that Evos are in. Black Pearl running champions both times, but also going with the lightning variation of Royal Giant. Not as popular these days, Josh.
Yeah, lightning is always going to be really good for catching opponents off guard and for flipping certain matchups. But right there, you absolutely need the fireball in this specific matchup. The Hunter plus the 3 Musketeers plus Molight's spectacular defense every single time. He was just pumping up way too much, getting the lightning out of cycle. And as soon as you do that, your Hunter or your 3M is going to win the bridge battle every single time. And that's what we saw. And then it became 2 Royal recruits, place him down at the bridge, watch him go.
And let's go ahead, get Juicy J back in here. Juice, that was a quick one. Thoughts on the match that we just saw?
Honestly, I'm with Josh in that one. I'm speechless. I mean, Mohamed Light just played perfect, literally taking 0 damage in that first game and then making his opponent give up and just 3 crowning in the second. It was great deck picks, great gameplay, huge disparity in skill level, like you guys said. The biggest point I want to kind of talk about here, though, is that second pick of the deck there, the 3 Musketeers Elixir Pump. Usually we don't see that very much because Hog EQ it was so prevalent in CRL for so long. Earthquake destroys Pump. If your opponent has the opportunity for a chance to take Earthquake in the best of 3, you cannot play Elixir Pump. But as we've seen Evil Barbs enter the meta, a lot of time, if the Hog Rider is going to be in play, it's going to be paired with a Fireball. So that Pump is really a lot stronger than people realize, and Mohamed Light did a perfect job of utilizing that to make huge Elixir trades and convert those Elixir trades into massive pushes.
And also, as a quick note here, I just checked it out. Only played Hog EQ, I think, 5 or 6 times total during the run-up to this monthly final, did Black Pearl. So very low on his deck pick list as well. Good catch by Mohamed Light and Jebas. And speaking of good catch, Mohamed Light catching a win here in set number 1. He will await the victor of our next matchup, Ian and Cody Go. More on that in a minute. Black Pearl dropping down, not out, just down into our lower bracket, our elimination bracket. We will, of course, find out later today whether he makes it onto lower bracket round 2 or whether it's a quick 2 matches in and out for Black Pearl. Let's go ahead, though, and move on to our second match of the day, one that I know a lot of people are very, very excited about. The captain of Colombia, longtime veteran Cody Go, making his triumphant return to Clash Royale League after a while off broadcast. And Cody Go, Josh, you've played against this guy many, many times back in CRL West. Talk to me about this really, really special player.
Yeah, I just have so much respect for him as a player. I talked about it at the beginning of the show. He grinds so much. He plays the game. He streams the game. He does everything you would want from a pro. I mean, just his attitude, especially knowing him in person, he was just a class act. And that actually does translate well to the game because you have to be disciplined. You have to, basically, you have to make friends inside this game if you want to practice with the best. So Código has really put himself in a situation where he can just, he just is a good player, and it's whether or not he can use his experience to play that way today.
Absolutely. We're going to be saying goodbye to Rich for this one. He get his thoughts at the end of the best of 3. We're starting in Ian at the top of your screen, Código at the bottom. And looks like we might have a Hog EQ mirror matchup for game 1. Josh, talk to me about this matchup. I mean, would you say Ian might have the advantage just because he's known for being one of the best Hog EQ players?
Yeah, I mean, you have to factor that in. And right there, he's actually going to be running Miner, double 1 Elixir plus... Okay, so he's got a very quick cycle with Bomb Tower. And Código is going to be in a world of hurt. This quick cycle from Ian is just always going to be able to defend the Hogs and get and just get damage on the tower. But right there, a nice little connection from the Hog, and that's actually going to put Código in the lead.
Yeah, that bomb tower placed 1 tile too high, making it so the obstacle tower is not able to help on the defense in that situation, allowing that 1 hog hit. A bit of a mistake from Ian. We talked about it before the cast, but Josh, do you think that nerves are going to play a factor here in this best of 3?
Yeah, I think they're going to, but I also don't think it's going to show in the ways that we're commonly used to seeing. A lot of the times we're seeing players, miss bomb towers or miss Teslas or miss NATOs. I don't really think we're going to see that from Ian. It could happen, but I think it's just going to be more like a clouded vision. Okay, how do I want to make this push? Do I need to make it in time? Do I need to do this? It's going to be a lot of the extra stuff that we don't often talk about if we see mistakes from Ian.
Absolutely. A couple mistakes so far. Ian down a bit of a damage here. Tower's already down to 241 for Código. We do have a bit of a counter push here, but the Valkyrie's going to do such a great job of controlling those Barbarians. But it's not possible to make this comeback. Looking at the matchup overall, Código is using the Earthquake in the face of Ian's Miner Poison. The Miner Poison can be so solid, but these Goblins are doing such a great job of picking up the Miners so far.
Ooh, and that's going to be a great protection right there. Not the Princess Protection program this time, but it is going to be the Archer Queen Protection. 20 tower down below 2,000 HP, so Ian is going to take the lead. And no Evo to Firecracker, so he actually wastes the Evo to Firecracker right there for no damage on the tower. So that's going to be something we're going to look at the end of the game if he loses by just a bit.
Yeah, Miner Poison, like I said, one of the most consistent win conditions. This tower's already down to 1,500. The Goblin's not doing the job that Código needs them to do. Like you said, with Código having Hog EQ, he needs that Evo Firecracker connections on the tower if he's going to be able to keep up with the damage here.
Yeah, right there, Código doing a great job swapping lanes. That's what you have to do against these Miner Poisons. You can't afford to go same lane. They're always going to be able to defend nicely. And right there, Miner plus Poison actually going to take out the Goblins very early on. Kind of shocked at that interaction and what we saw.
Yeah, I don't know. We'd have to look at the replay,
Wow.
But I feel like Código has not caught a single Miner of these Goblins yet. Ian's placements on these Miners are perfect, and Código's Goblins placements are not perfect.
Yeah, and I really think Ian is going to win this game, and it's all because of how he's defending these Firecrackers. That second Firecracker, that second Evo to Firecracker, got 0 shots on the board. It didn't like just not get a lot of value. It got 0 value whatsoever. Very impressive defense from Ian.
Lovely pre-log there for the Goblins as well. Every single Miner's connected on this tower, and it adds up. You talk about Ian being able to control these Firecrackers. I feel like some of that must be just from the fact that he's such a good Hog EQ player. He knows how to play against the Hog EQ. And that's going to be game 1. The Ian 7-7. We're hopping to the second game of the best of 3. He's not looking great for Código, the veteran here. Ian maybe going to take a 2-0 sweep. Or do you think that maybe Kodigo has it in him to get the reverse sweep here in this situation?
I really think, especially with this month, with all the pressure, you need to start off strong in these best of threes. To ask yourself, with all this pressure on, you know, can I lose a matchup and then win 2 in a row? It's a difficult task, and it's one against Ian where you just have to assume you can't do it. So Ian with a great start and takes a major lead in this second set of the day.
I really like the decision by Kodigo to pull out their Evo recruits in this match because the bomb tower and the log is already out of hand, out of play for Ian. Ian does have the firecracker, which does pretty well versus the recruits, but Kodigo's ready. He's got the arrows. I'm loving the deck pick right now from Kodigo.
Yeah, right there. Arrows plus Snowball are going to be able to take out the Evo to Firecracker, and then the Magic Archer as well is going to provide a bit of value. I've got a quiz for you. Okay. Actually, yeah, okay. Snowball plus Earthquake does or does not kill the Magic Archer?
Snowball plus Earthquake does not kill Magic Archer,
okay.
Which is going to be a huge game changer in this matchup. That's why I always say, I think I've said this on serial broadcasts a million times. But if you're going to use Hoggy Q, you have to use the log with it. I see Snowball using Hoggy Q so many times, but the log is the one small spell that does the most damage that in combination with Earthquake can kill stuff like Magic Archer, like Mother Witch, even Zappies. So it's going to be tough for Ian to deal with that Magic Archer absolutely in this game.
But speaking of tough to deal with, this is going to be a lot coming down the lane. We have the Royal Recruit, plus the Lumberjack, plus the Skeleton Dragons, all of them popping, and the Rage doesn't hit the Skelly Dragons, but they're still going to get the tower down to 733. So great stuff for Kodigo, but you do have to look at his spells. He only has the arrows plus the Snowball. It's not guaranteed that he locks away this victory.
It's not guaranteed, but like we talked at the beginning, that Tesla just doesn't do the job versus recruits. No splash damage, single targeting. It's good versus beatdown dice like Golem or Giant or even Goblin Giant, but the recruits are going to be something that is very difficult to deal with for sure.
And right there, one of the Skeleton Dragons locking onto the Firecracker twice and a third time, so definitely going to have to give a raise to that right Skeleton Dragon. And the left one doing his job as well, getting it down to 572. Great defense and no shots from the Hog. I mean, Ian, it just feels like he's getting dominated so far, but the thing is, with these Hog decks, if you can actually pull off clean defenses, just time and time again, as it gets lower, you can still win. But right here, I don't know if he can stop this. Plus the Snowball, maybe. I don't know. Ian is doing a great job of staying in the game, at least.
Yeah, you make a great point about Ian's defense. If it's perfect, he might be able to make a comeback. That seems like it might be happening right now. But this counter push is brutal. The Evo recruits are going down the lane. They aren't able to charge to the tower. Mighty Miner going to knock back everything, but now the shields are off, so the charge is going to begin. Goes for the Earthquake. Skelly Drag is locked on the tower. Snowball going to push it back. The right side tower is getting pretty low as well. Here comes the Ram Rider. Can Ian defend this? He's going to stay alive momentarily, but Josh, can he make this comeback? He's down in Elixir.
Yeah, I know. Both towers down to 400 HP, but he has the Firecracker. He has the Hawk. He can get aggressive, and this, okay, gets it down in time. Great stuff from Kodigo. He had to predict that interaction, and he absolutely did. And now Ian does have to watch out for the right side, but I mean, this is getting closer and closer as this game goes on.
Evo Firecracker not going to lock on the tower. Snowball going to defend these goblins. It's 411 versus 516. Ian has to watch out for his right side tower as well, though. We're heading into Triple Elixir. Anything can happen here, Josh.
Yep, right here we see it. Evo to Royal Recruits, Bridge, and Hog to Kite. This is great. But I mean, he's going to need the Goblin Gang plus the Snowball. There we go. No Snowball needed, or no Goblin Gang needed. And right there, that Ram Rider mistake could actually cost him. He might have needed that offensive pressure.
Skelly Dragon.
He's got to defend it. He's got to defend it.
What happened?
Kodigo.
Right.
Kodigo gonna take game number 2. He did not have the proper defenses set up. That's the thing with these Hog decks. You can defend perfectly, but just one mistake. No Snowball and Cycle, no Earthquake to slow it down, no Tesla on the board, and Kodigo gonna take game number 2. We were saying all these great things about Ian making this incredible comeback, but Kodigo preserves the victory.
Wow. That was fantastic gameplay from Código there. The dual lane pressure with those recruits are unmatched. We're hopping into game 3. We see a Mother Witch from Código. Could be a variety of different things. Could be Goblin Giant Sparky. There's the Goblin Giant Sparky. Ian77. Gonna be using the Magic Archer NATO with the Wall Breakers. Overall, you know, this matchup's interesting. When I play this Magic Archer NATO deck, I lose a Sparky every time. But when I watch Remy Eli do it, he's able to pull it off, but he has the roll delivery. The delivery, what a deck pick from Ian. He uses the delivery, sniping the Sparky. Delivery, one of the best counter to Sparky in the game.
I just love when those cards get brought out. It's probably my favorite thing about Clash Royale. When you have the player cams and you bring out that one card, that one difference to the meta decks, and you have the royal delivery for your opponent's Sparky, you see a slight smile from Ian and a slight frown from Código.
Absolutely. Goblin Giant going to be cleaned up very nicely by the Inferno Tower in this variation as well. I honestly love this deck from Ian. Not the Miner, obviously. The Miner already used in the first game of the Masters. He's got the Drill version. The thing about this Drill version is that Delivery and that Inferno Tower are going to be so good versus the beatdown meta. Any Goblin Giant going to get cleaned up by the Inferno Tower. Roll Delivery, so good versus the big pushes. And then the Magic Archer as well is going to be something that Código always has to look out for to snipe through and get damage on the tower.
Yeah, okay. I thought he didn't get it in time. Right there, gonna defend that cleanly, and a huge push coming down. We are probably gonna see the fireball, and that's absolutely what we see. NATO plus Magic Archer, though, that's gonna get the tower down real low, down to 2062, and Ian takes a 450 HP lead as we head into double elixir.
Very impressed with the gameplay so far from Ian. What I was just about to say, though, is going same lane versus Sparky deck is not what you want to do, but he immediately is going for the ops lane pressure. I love that play. Double wall breaker connection, real connection as well. And that Evil Knight doing a great job of just tanking the Goblin Giant Spear Gob shots and also those Sparky shots. And all of a sudden, the left side tower has less HP than Código's right. Great macro decision from Ian to switch lanes there.
Yeah, right there. Mother Witch to apply a little bit of protection to the Sparky. Probably going to see a delivery on the right side. No, just going to split the wall breakers and then force out the delivery still. So that's why I was worried about that. But here's the thing. He can't stop this Inferno Tower from taking out the Goblin Giant fully. But this offensive pressure with the other troops is still kind of decent, but I don't think it's going to do anything.
Does he have NATO cycle? Yes, he does.
Wow.
NATO gonna get a very nice King Tower activation here. That's a lovely play. Point everything to the middle with that Inferno Tower. It looks scary, but the NATO just pulls the King, gets activation, not to mention the wall break connection left inside with the Magic Archer connection. Ian is in the driver's seat so far.
Yeah, and not going to force the issue with the Tornado on the Knight, on the Mini P.E.K.K.A. Instead, he's just going to defend. That's exactly what you should be doing. Ian knows, especially with his just being the caliber of player that he is, Código will not get past him. So he does not have to go for the win with Magic Archer NATOs until the right time. And this looks like the right time right here. We see Código almost give up. Not quite. I feel like he could have used the NATO right there.
Drill on the defense here. No, he's just going on the offense. He wants to go for the kill. He goes for roll delivery on the defense. Mega Minion not going to be enough to stop this. And that is going to be game, ladies and gentlemen. Ian taking a 2-1 best of 3 versus the veteran Código. He's got a small smile here, but he knows that he has a lot more to do if he wants to make it to the World Finals. He needs to at least get top 2, at least make it the Grand Finals. Well played to Ian, and great stuff overall, but he's got a long journey ahead of himself still this weekend.
That's right, job's not finished, but he can be proud of the product that he's put out so far. Código, he played a fine game. It's kind of what we expect from him. He didn't make too many mistakes. He played some odd decks that would give his opponent some trouble sometimes, but really Ian just dominated throughout. He was the better player in that set, and he will walk away with a set victory. Ian, I mean, there is so much pressure on his head. He knows that all his YouTube fans are going to want to see him succeed, and that's what he did. Let's take a a look at these highlights right here. And this game right here, he just applied so much pressure with these minor poisons. The Goblins usually do a fine job of defending, but because he was able to have such a quick cycle, he was throwing out minor poisons every single time, and the Goblins could just never stop it.
Looking at game 3 here, we saw that NATO. That was kind of like the finishing move, it seemed like. It seemed like Codigo finally had a push going down. It finally had a chance, but the NATO just finished it off there. And the defense, it was just so good for me. And that Inferno Tower, that delivery, you know, you talked about Ian playing better, but I also think that he picked the decks better, and that was really the reason why he was able to really take this dub. Looking at the stats here, you know, nothing too big to note. I do want to look at these decks here. I think the decks played the biggest part in this best of 3. Talk me through game 1 here and why Ian really has a pretty solid advantage.
Yeah, I mean, Ian is going all out for these ground pushes because he has the Evoed Barbs, he has the Bomb Tower, the Quick Cycle, the Poison, the Log. He's not really worried about Codigo taking it to the air. Had Codigo used Lava, that's when it could have spelled trouble for Ian, but instead he gets the right matchup. Codigo, he did everything, he did some things that he could, but really on Codigo's end, it was how he used the Evoed Firecracker, and basically, he used it poorly. He tried going opposite lane, applying pressure, trying to get it to snipe onto the Inferno or onto the bomb towers and then hit the opposite lane, but it just never happened. Ian was so quick with the defenses, so quick with the logs, and really, it was just great matchup, great gameplay. Let's take a look at game number 2.
Game number 2, we kind of saw the scripts flip here for a second. Codigo really having that matchup advantage. He had the arrows for the Firecracker. He had those Evo recruits. Ian just didn't have the right things to deal with it. Looking at game 3, though, that's once again Ian's matchup here. That's a big one. The delivery for the Smarky, the Inferno Tower. The Inferno Tower is something that you noted during that during the gameplay that Codigo just doesn't have a way to stop it, right? A lot of the time, Sparky decks are using Zap plus arrows or Zap plus Fireball to have a reset for those Inferno Dragons, for those Inferno Towers, even Mighty Miner. But as the meta is shifted away from Mighty Miner and away from champions, this Sparky deck is using Fireball to break through Evo Barbs in the Rage to make sure the push is raged up and as quick as possible. But the Rage does not reset the Inferno, and that's what allowed Ian to really control this match in its entirety.
Yeah, one thing I would like to know, and I've just kind of been collecting my thoughts, I loved his use of the Spear Goblins in that matchup. He would apply pressure with it, force out early Mother Witches, then the Mother Witch would walk in front of the Sparky, or he'd go opposite lane, force the Rage out, and then he'd be able to defend easier. Those Spear Goblins, they can be trouble when you go against Mother Witch decks, but that time he used it perfectly. Let's get Rich back in here, and what are your thoughts on that best of 3?
This was one of my favorite performances of Ian from all time, because I think it showed 2 things. One, it showed mistake-free gameplay, right? You didn't see him doing things on the board where the nerves showed through, and that's been a challenge for him in the past. But the second part of it is the deck work he put in with his coach Alan to come up with a really phenomenal full 3-game set game plan, where if you talk about that deck in game number 2, Ian and Alan took a look at Codigo's decks, and they knew, A, that Sparky deck is his #1 deck that he has the most wins with, most plays with, and 2, that once you get past Hog, he leans on heavy decks primarily. So what he did in playing it out games 2 and 3 is cover a lot of the board very well. He knew, hey, I might get the matchup I want in game 2, but if I don't, I will get it in game 3 and have this whole thing locked down. It was mature, it was smart, and it was exactly what Ian needs if he's going to make top 2 this weekend.
Oh, I love that bit of analysis because it's just so important to recognize opponents' strategies. And right there, I mean, Ian did it beautifully. And wow, game number 3, it's going to be Vitor75 going against Cal Sub TM. What was it you said earlier? The 2 Portuguese speakers going against each other. This is going to be a fun battle.
That's going to be a great one, but you take a look at what Ian just had to go through, and now he'll find himself up against Mohamed Light in the next round. So needs to make that top 2. Will have the toughest test of his career the next round, but right now in front of us, as you said, Sub and Vitor. And Juicy, this is a matchup of a longtime veteran. Vitor has secured World Finals. He will be making his 4th appearance at our World Championship. You got to imagine that takes a whole lot of pressure off him for this weekend.
Absolutely. I still think that he's probably the biggest threat to that golden ticket this month, though. Sub, definitely a bit of an underdog in this situation. Vitor, he's at the World Finals last year. He's one of those players that you can always count on to be consistent. And that's why I chose him in my predictions here, absolutely.
Josh, when we look at Sub from a deck pool's perspective, he tends to really succeed with the cycle decks that we've been talking about being maybe less dominant in this current meta. And we know that Vitor has a deep deck pool but tends to play a little thicker, more in the middle of your elixir count. Is Sub going to be able to rely on those cycle decks here in this matchup?
Yeah, so taking a look at the round of 32, Sub used control decks or cycle decks in every single game except 2 of them. So I believe that Sub is going to continue to go down that path. He's going to continue to use the quick cycle, just control the game decks. And I think he can do it. I also just think Vitor, I want to see him smiling, and I think he's just a phenomenal player. So especially if Vitor knows his opponent's strategies, I expect Vitor to walk out of this with a set victory under his belt.
Certainly more experience of these two, but Sub also no slouch overall in his Clash Royale experience. We've seen him, and this is kind of interesting way to put it, he's played on camera, which, Juicy, is not true for some of the players that we're seeing here this weekend and not true for many players, but Sub, especially in this last year, competing in some of our other competitions like GKR or the Queso Cup, he's finally started to get that top tier level experience against the best players. Do you think that matters going into this matchup against the 4-time world finalist?
I think that matters a lot. I mean, I can attest to that level of practice that he's putting in, the level of experience he's putting in firsthand. Whenever I played against Sub on ladder, he's just one of those players that always takes me out. Like Josh said, he's very good with the control decks. And I think that is where he's going to shine here. As long as he can get decent matchups, you know, Vitor, he's a great player, but Sub, he's no slouch either. He's definitely got a great chance.
And you can see both of these players, if you look at the edges of their screens, representing Shock Kalalis, the organization that has picked up pretty much all the top players in the world this year, including our defending world champion. And that most likely means that both players operating without a coach or deck picker, as Jebus is the man in that role overall for this team. So we'll see how these players fare completely on their own in this matchup that is huge for Sub.
And we see Sub not going to the quick cycle to the comfort. He's pulling out Lava Hound in this game 1. But I think it's a great pick. Vitor only having Phoenix in this deck to defend. Maybe he's got a Hunter as well. The RG decks sometimes will use 2 air defense with the Hunter and Phoenix. But, you know, Vitor up a lot of damage so far. Let's see if he's got the Hunter. He does.
And that's a great cover there on the Loon, not to mention the management of those Lava Pups and the Inferno Dragon on the right. Vitor weathers the early storm and, as you can see, has a massive lead in that left-hand lane.
Wow, I did not expect that Hunter to get that final shot, but the Fisherman pull, slowing down the tower shots, allowing that Hunter shot. And, you know, I talked about it a little bit. Usually this RG deck could only have Phoenix and then a cycle card instead of the Hunter, but that Hunter could be great to cover against a big lava deck like this. And Sub just in a really bad spot. Maybe he should have stuck with the comfort with the quick cycle. Definitely could have been beneficial versus a big heavy RG deck like this.
And doing a great job still trying to kite, reset, distract, anything he can on that Inferno Dragon. This might be, no, one Phoenix goes down and knocks back the Loon. And Vitor, you talk about playing comfortable right now. It seems like he is just wrapped up in a blanket, getting ready to watch a movie with some popcorn.
Yeah, honestly, he might be able to do that here in about 23 seconds if he can get this dub. This last defense, he's got the Hunter back in cycle. Is he going to get back to a Phoenix? There comes the blue on the right-hand side. That's going to force the Phoenix there. But look at this Monk ability. Deflecting the lava pups, deflecting those Skelly Drags, that was perfect.
I don't think I've ever seen a Monk reflect that many things at once. That was crazy.
Here comes the RG, the bridge, the fireball prediction.
Brilliant.
On the Evo Barbs to finish off this game. Beautiful gameplay. You just need to cycle back to one more fireball.
And we'll cover the Inferno Dragon easily. And Josh was talking about it earlier, seeing the look on a player's face when they realize what precisely has gone down. Just needs to get one more elixir here to get this fireball on tower. Will get it done. Vitor, perfect performance here in game one.
Absolutely great deck pick, great performance. The biggest thing here from Sub in his deck pick is not having that big spell. He's got Arrow Zap, which is great if you're going against a Firecracker or something else, maybe like a Magic Archer. You can kill Magic Archer with Arrow Zap. But, you know, a Hunter, you need a Fireball for that. Without it, you're out of luck.
And no surprises here. Vitor running a deck that 98% chance has NATO in it, with the cycle player here likely going to Hog or Miner, looking like Miner in this case. Good pick overall by Vitor in game two.
Yeah, that's a great call out. Tornado, one of the best cards versus the Miner, and the Bomb Tower, one of the best cards versus the Recruits here. Vitor is 2 for 2 on the deck picks. Let's see if he's got the gameplay to back that up.
And both players taking a moment to reset. Vitor sets up his Knight to the right-hand side, wall breakers, or Knight to the left, wall breakers to the right. Easily covered as the first minute of gameplay is gone.
Spear Gobs the bridge, going to be picked up by the opposing Spear Gobs from Vitor. Well played. That's the back. Here comes the wall breakers. Does he have a building? Yes, he does. He gets the bomb tower down to defend that. Well played, Miner. Trying to get some chip. Looks like it's going to be able to.
And NATO to stop the bats. Bomb tower to control the wall breakers. So far, so good. Spears for pressure. Talking about this, right? This is not quite a mirror matchup. Two decks that have a lot in common. Juicy, but you're seeing some slight differences here. The Recruits obviously give you a lot of pressure, but with the Bomb Tower and the Magic Archer in the mix, and seemingly no way to get the Magic Archer off the board for Sub, is this, or he might be playing it, might be running a big spell there as the last piece.
I want to quickly talk about this huge play from Sub here. Going for the Recruits at the bridge, realizing he was up a lot of elixir. No Bomb Tower was in cycle from Vitor. He cycles back to it now, but there's going to be a lot of damage coming through here. Beautiful play from Sub, realizing his elixir lead and realizing the poor cycle from Vitor. Vitor did the best that he could to control. I definitely think he can still win this. He is going to be able to make this comeback now that we're in double elixir and the kind of board has reset, but beautiful play there from Sub.
Magic Archer taken care of by the Bomb Tower up top. NATO for the King Tower activation. Little low on elixir, though, is Vitor as those Recruits get in. Back to another night. Wall breakers plus Recruits on the right-hand side. Log won't do it. That right-hand tower in a ton of trouble. And just like that, the lead swings to Sub with 15 seconds left in regulation.
Evo Recruits in the back. Bomb Tower is set up for the defense. He's going to get a poison out of that Bomb Tower to try and take that out. And it's going to be pretty successful in that. And Magic Archer is going to have to kind of carry the defense now. Let's see if he's be able to protect the Magic Archer. Miner might actually take this Magic Archer out. No, it survives.
Wall breakers in. Log has to come out, and it does. 1088 to 1755. The poison certainly going to be a factor here. But some good Miner chip from Vitor on the left-hand lane.
Here comes the Miner bats on the right-hand side in the safe spot, so the King Tower is not able to hit them. Miner, one back into the tower momentarily as well. Left side, no damage comes through, but it doesn't matter. Now this tower's down to 655. Sub playing fantastically in this match so far. Kind of making a big upset looking at the matchup overall.
Bomb Tower looking to control. Miner does get picked up by the Knight that's pulling double duty. Wall breakers not going to the bomb tower, forcing out the NATO, but it might not be enough. One does connect. GG, well played. Sub evens things up. We're going to game 3.
You know, I said Vitor had a decent matchup, but he needs the gameplay to back it up. It looks like Sub is going to win on that one. We definitely need a replay on that situation where Sub ended up about, I think it was like 4 or 5 elixir, and he just went for those Evo recruits to the bridge. That was the moment of the kind of tide completely shifting there. Sub doing a great job of continuing the momentum in that match as well, putting Vitor really on that back pedal.
And Sub going potentially double bait here. We'll see if he is going with the Goblin Barrel. Obviously already played the Wall Breakers. And Hog for Vitor right into the Goblin game.
Great Ice Spirit there, a Snowball as well, and Hog already has 2 shots. Here comes the Mortar to the bridge with the Dark Goblin. Vitor not going to be having the log in this matchup for all of the different spam. That could definitely play a factor. I really love the Inferno Tower placement though, putting out this Mortar.
And just opting to eat the Dark Goblin damage, recognizing being down 2 elixir, didn't want a repeat of our last game, and the lead gained by those 2 Hog Rider shots evaporated by the darts from the Goblin.
Valkyrie in the back, gonna try and clean up this Cannon Cart. I'm not sure if the Cannon Cart will cross though. It does not cross, meaning Cannon Cart is gonna do a great job of killing this Valkyrie, not gonna be held down by the tower. Firecracker doing pretty good to clean up the opposing Skeleton Barrel. Both players kind of just cycling stuff in the back, waiting for the other to make a mistake. Let's see who decides to go in aggressive first.
How much of a problem is the flying machine for Vitor in this matchup? Because I'm assuming that he's running an Earthquake, and that's going to leave Vitor with only a couple of ways to mitigate, but struggle to stop those flying machines.
That's a great call out, Rich. I think the flying machine is definitely going to be the biggest component of Sub's deck. Almost a win condition itself, with Vitor not having anything to kill it. He's doing a great job so far of dealing with pretty creative snowballs and just applying pressure in general to prevent too many flying machines from coming down. As we head into double elixir now, that flying machine will probably play a big factor. Vitor might have to get even more creative trying to get some Inferno Towers to lock onto it.
And this time gets the timing right. Dark Goblin taken care of by the Princess Tower. 45 seconds left in regulation. Vitor just sets up for some control here. Inferno Tower down. The Firecracker in the back. And the ever so slight lead hanging precariously by a thread.
Lovely Skelly Barrel here, distract that Inferno Tower momentarily. This flying machine doing a good job of getting some good value, but I love Vitor's placements on everything, making sure the tower is able to kill that flying machine once everything else dies. Hogrider coming in, Evo Mortar can pick it up, but Earthquake gonna take that Evo Mortar out, but it does get one shot on this left side tower.
And one shot from an Evo Mortar you can see is so devastating between the damage it does added on with the Goblin hitting, and just like that, both towers in a world of hurt. Vitor with the lead, but a slight one as we go into sudden death.
Great Earthquake on defense. I think the one thing we really haven't talked about is that Valkyrie in this matchup. She's definitely the unsung hero, doing a great job of dealing with those Skeleton Kings and everything else on this board.
And Evo Firecracker with a little bit of protection in front of it. Hog trying to sneak on through here. Will get at least one, does not get 2. 14-22 left-hand side. Vitor starting to pull away.
Flying Machine is going to get picked up by guards here. Tower going to take it out as a guard's tank. Skeleton in the back on the right-hand side for Sub. Being that 3-card cycle going. Valkyrie always going to be cycled in that same lane to deal with that, though.
So far, Juicy, it looks like Sub is starting to get some trouble. Now finally has something in front of the flying machine. What does Sub need to do to get back in this one?
In order to get back in this one, he's going to have to use that 3-card cycle to cycle multiple flying machines and try and break through with a huge push in the triple elixir. That is the one way that you make this comeback.
56 seconds left. Triple elixir starting to flow. Cannon Cart sets up to the weak side for Sub. Firecracker could be a problem though. Mortar to control. And now that big counter push, the potential building.
Here comes the Goblin getting the right side. Inferno is going to clean up that flying machine. Here's a second flying machine cycle. Here's the evil Firecracker on the defense though. Sub needs to get a fireball now ASAP or else it'll get way too much value. But he misses the fireball.
And Flying Machine almost gets to tower, not quite, and that might be the end in this matchup for Sub. Only a few seconds left. Vitor needs to hold on and has a pretty good advantage. Valk working at the bridge, now decides to go pressure offensive with the Hog and the Earthquake. Mortar to pull 1844. Mortar does get one shot on tower. It will not be enough. GG, well played. Vitor, already a world finalist in 2023, looking to put a cherry on top with a win right here.
Beautiful stuff from Vitor overall. The protection of the Firecracker in that match was perfect, and that's what really made the biggest difference. Sub did not have the arrows variation. He had Fireball instead, so he didn't have a way to really deal with that Firecracker very well. And it looked scary, that final push in the triple elixir, but the missed Fireball and that evil Firecracker made it so it cleaned up everything, preventing any sort of breakthrough for Sub.
And so far, it's been the favorite taking the win every single time. Mohamed Light getting the win, Ian getting the win, now Vitor getting the win. And now if you're Air Surfer sitting at home, Juicy, you have to be happy to see Vitor continue pushing forward, because a Vitor golden ticket win does open up a spot in that top 7.
Absolutely. The Air Surfer definitely rooting for Vitor to get that golden ticket to increase his chances. But also, Ian making it to the next win here is something else he's going to be looking at. He doesn't want Ian to give that top 2 scenario to pass him in points.
So here we go, just taking a look at some of the work done here. And this first game, Juicy, the defensive sequencing from Vitor was just on point the entire way through.
Yeah, Vitor's defense was very solid in general. You know, he made a couple mistakes here and there, but they were small. The big mistake was that missed Fireball. Look at the evil Firecracker on this defense, as it just shoots everywhere on the left and right side of the map. And the Hog Rider was also just a very consistent way to break through for Vitor in combinations with those EQs. A very clean 2-1 best of 3 from Vitor there.
And extra celebration from the King on that one. Taking a look at some of the numbers here, and overall a little heavier from Sub than maybe we expected throughout this matchup. A big part of that courtesy of the Royal Giant play, and the courtesy of the Lava Hound play, excuse me. So a little bit heavier out of Sub this time around. Vitor, again, just a reminder, Sub, like Codigo, like Inthrill, like Black Pearl, needs a golden ticket, needs to go to World Finals. Vitor, though, we talked about it, Juicy, just playing comfy. He's already at Worlds.
Yeah, playing comfortable, no nerves really. Looking at game 1 deck here, he goes for some RG. It's a great matchup versus Lava. Game 2, Sub played fantastically. He needs to bring this energy that he used in game 2 to the rest of the weekend, because like you said, he needs to win that golden ticket. He needs to play better than anyone else on this stage and at least get top 2 if Mode Light gets that top 1 to get that golden ticket.
And taking a look at our third matchup here, Sub sticking with something he plays a lot in Mortar, and Vitor doing a great job, but felt like a difficult situation. How come the Flying Machine wasn't that big of a factor in this matchup?
Honestly, we talked about it a little bit, but it was just the protection of the Firecracker. Vitor did a great job of protecting the Firecracker throughout the match to deal with the Flying Machine, but he also had a very, very good micro in the timings that he played his guards and his Valkyrie near his tower to make sure the Flying Machine did not lock onto the tower, but also in the same way to make sure it doesn't, or that it's able to be targeted by his tower. A lot of the time we saw the push fizzle out, the Flying Machine still on the board, and then the tower to take that out with a surviving Valkyrie or surviving guards to just tank that Flying Machine out as a tower was able to take it.
Well, so far, so good for our veterans. Josh, Mohamed Light takes the win. Ian takes the win over Codigo. And now, of course, we have Vitor taking his win. And now we come up next to our Wallace Inthrill matchup. Thoughts on what we just saw and the implications of what we're about to see?
Yeah, so, I mean, I loved Sub's game number 2. There was one point in time where he had 7 elixir, his opponent had 4 elixir, and he used the Evoed Royal Recruits at the bridge. I thought that was brilliant, and there were so many things he did right. And then game number 3, it wasn't the same man. He wasn't using the flying machine how he was supposed to. He missed a fireball at the end of the game. So he needs to just come with that energy, as Juicy was saying, from the game 2 and start playing that way every single game. And then as far as implications go, there are so many crazy things that we will see occur. So Ian and Muhammad, like, that's going to be crazy. Wallace, if he can win this set, then he just needs one more set victory in order to automatically qualify for World Finals. So there is so much going on. And Air Surfer, I mean, this is the worst possible, I guess not, technically not worst case scenario yet, because Vitor is still in it. But this is not looking good for Air Surfer so far.
Well, we'll talk about that more, Josh, because remember that if any of the players who pass Air Surfer then go on and win a golden ticket,
right,
they could open up a spot for him to jump back into the top 7. So if Wallace wins here, that might in some ways be the better scenario. It's all crazy, and of course we'll break it down as we get closer. But right in front of us, we have another big-time matchup. Wallace needs to win 2 matches this weekend to make top 4 to get enough points to secure a World Finals berth. Inthrill, on the other side, needs to get a golden ticket this weekend or he goes home. And we talk about Wallace making top 4. He just did that in our last monthly final, made top 4. Of course, we know Wallace is a world-class competitor. His performance at CRL World Finals 2020, where he carried Pain Gaming past Nova Esports 7 for 7 in his games in that World Finals. Of course, a 2021 World Finalist, barely missed last year. Josh, is this Wallace's time to make it to Worlds?
I believe so. Wallace is so talented. We needed to see, I mean, if there is potential to see Wallace at the World Finals, I want to see that happen. I also want Air Surfer to qualify, but I also really need to see Wallace. He's so talented. Still to this day, it was Wallace against Mugi, and it was one of the most impressive sets I have ever seen in my life. I still just like, I wake up, sometimes I wake up in the morning and I just smile, remembering what I saw that day. So I need to see Wallace at the World Finals.
Juicy, on the other side of things, we have Inthrill, his opponent, who's known for being a great sniper, but we are in pre-built duel mode. You have to build 4 decks out beforehand. How much does that hinder the things that Inthrill's known for here?
That's a great point, Rich. I mean, it's very difficult to snipe. You have to look very far ahead in the future here to be able to snipe based on a lot of different information. You have to pre-select those decks. You know, we saw Ian do a great job of that in his game 1. Maybe Inthrill can replicate that and get some good matchups to be able to take out Wallace, but that's a heavy feat. Wallace, one of the best players in the game.
So we'll see what these players can cook up as we get ready for our last first round matchup. One more time, Wallace needs to make top 4 to get enough points to surpass Air Surfer and qualify for Worlds. Inthrill, one of our 4 players who needs a golden ticket. So far, the lower ranked players, the golden ticket or go home players, have lost the first round every single time today. Inthrill, can he be the one who changes that story, or will he join the other guys down at the bottom? We'll say bye to Juicy for the moment. And AC, we jump into this one with Wallace opening wall breakers at the bridge into a mini P.E.K.K.A.
Mini P.E.K.K.A going to be able to clean up the left one fairly easily, but the right one does hit the tower, getting it down to 2660. And the Mother Witch is going to come out from Inthrill. So we've seen this deck earlier, but earlier today. If it is going to, you know, stay the same way, we're going to see Goblin Giant Sparky from Inthrill.
And Goblin Giant Sparky has been the deck he leaned on by far the most in our lead up to this monthly final. Lots of success with Goblin Giant Sparky, so no surprises here. You got to wonder if Wallace was predicting that in game 1.
Right there, Sparky is going to clean up the Skeleton King very nicely, probably. Going to activate the ability, but I'm not exactly sure what the ability is going to do. Really, it was just a waste of 2 elixir from Wallace right there. And wow, it's going to hit the Mother Witch right there, and this could be dangerous for Wallace.
Very dangerous indeed. Dark Prince raged up deep in enemy territory. Sparky does get stopped by the wall breakers temporarily, and a beautiful stoppage actually, but the arrows come and take the gang off. Miner cannot push the Sparky back, and that's going to be a massive shot. 2:27 remains as Inthrill doesn't just draw blood, he cuts off a limb.
And right there, that was almost one of the best wall breaker splits I have ever seen. He splits one of them to the left side, Sparky shoots it, and the right one gets stuck on the Sparky, so that way it doesn't go outside of the Sparky's range. So he did absolutely everything he could to stop that situation. It was just too deadly, too many mistakes were made before that interaction happened.
And that 2 elixir, certainly he would have liked to have that back, as you saw, just needing one more troop to prevent the Sparky shot. And now playing far from behind, Inthrill happy to cycle the Rage on the right and just chip that tower down. But Wallace going to say, hey, you're spending 2 elixir like that? Here I go. Bridge play from the Royal Recruits, and this is a lot on the board, Josh.
Yeah, right there, the right tower is going to get down to probably about 500 HP. It's with the mini P.E.K.K.A helping on defense, not even going to get that far. And I mean, that is clean defense. And now with the Rage plus the mini P.E.K.K.A, that tower is going to go down. And I don't think Wallace can take a tower in time unless he gets a connection. 310, he has a chance.
Wow, and Miner on the tower as well. This is absolutely huge. Miner will do enough. It should get one more. GG well played on the right-hand side. But now Sparky, Goblin Giant, deep in enemy territory. The arrows come out to defend. This is going to be a lot of damage. Rage trying to speed things up. And that tower in a world of hurt. Wallace needs a big moment.
Yeah, but this is not the worst. I mean, he got a tower, he still has a chance, and his opponent only has arrows plus Rage. But I do not know if I like cycling the Goblin King in the very back, because he just gets value on the tower plus the Goblin King, and I think he's going to make it to the tower. That's going to be game 1 from Inthrill right there. Wow.
Yeah, Wallace, just maybe some jitters here, a couple of ill-conceived choices, and now finds himself back to the wall. Inthrill has played his top deck, so we have to see what else he has in store for Wallace. Keep in mind that Inthrill, in his ladder pushes last couple of seasons, Season 6, Path of Legends was playing Hog EQ, Season 7, some minor wall breakers, so certainly other options in his tool belt. Decides to go to the skies, Lava Hound to open on the left-hand side.
I almost, oh my goodness. I almost always love lava, and I was going to say all these great things, but what I love more is Wallace's deck choice. He's going to be running Xe right there, and that's going to be huge. It is possible to make mistakes on the executioner side, but I don't expect to see that from Wallace. All he needs to do is cycle these Xes in the back, try and get as much value as possible, and he should be able to defend cleanly every single time.
Wallace going old school, and does he have a NATO here? Decides no, he's just going to go ahead and eat the loon shot and get not that much damage on the right-hand side with that fireball. So it seems right now, Josh, that the big problem for Wallace is macro play, the decision-making, just not quite there.
Yeah, he's making a lot of mistakes that I feel like we should just not be seeing from him. It would have been... Now, here's the thing, right? Yes, he's given up a lot of damage. He is losing right now. But the thing is, especially if he has a tower, he can always take the loon to the king tower. He can always technically defend every single time. So he might be playing this way just because he knows if the game is close as we head into double elixir, he's going to be able to take out the tower when his opponent won't. So I don't want to chalk it up as a mistake just yet.
Skelly drags plus Mega Minion to the right-hand lane. Push a little bit out around the bomb tower. Golden Knight has to come out to control, and that Golden Knight is going to get eaten up here, and Skelly Dragons will turn to the right-hand side. Wallace can't spend any elixir to defend against those, needs to focus on the lava on the left-hand lane, so now Inthrill opening up options on both sides as the Evolved Barbarians come out, 3 to the right, 2 to the left, and is there a NATO here for Wallace? Will he pull all this together for some executioner damage? So far, it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, not just yet. These executioners have not gotten as much value as he wants. Now, here's the thing. Is he going to try and activate the King Tower? He gets it, and he got the King Tower activation, even with the oddly placed bomb tower situation. So that is a great NATO. It can get stuck sometimes, but he did not allow for that to happen.
Well, and now that opens up. You can see what he was looking for, he was hoping for. And that is a much better fireball plus drill combination of the right-hand side. And now this opens up the NATO to function with this executioner in a way that he didn't quite have the option for before.
Absolutely. I think he's done such a great job. It was strange, and now that he has this game in this spot, now we can say all these great things about it. It's kind of sketchy to play it as aggressively as he did. But because of that, I mean, it's just so simple now. All he has to do is set up Xyz on the left, I mean, get these dashes whenever he can, and get drill fireballs every single time. He has... It's just perfect how he's played it.
The Evo Barbs run away from the Executioner, so now Inthrill with a good bit of pressure going to the right-hand side. Does he loon behind this, maybe, with the Mega Minion out there for protection? And he does. Mega Minion there, plus Skeleton Dragons. Big opportunity for Inthrill. The push around the bomb tower, that is going to do some damage to Wallace. I think he's going to opt to tank it here, and yes, he will, to save the elixir, but great play by Inthrill, who is trying to stay alive in this with a minute left and only 498 on his right-hand tower.
Yeah, I like that he pressured with the Loon, but I really love that he also used the Skeleton Dragons to do it. He had a chance to pull, and that's going to be game 2. Wallace going to take the victory, all because of the decks before the game started. That is such a great choice. He just knew his opponent was going to be running Lava Loon.
So Inthrill does have Log available still, does have NATO available still, has played some minor wall breakers in the past, and also some Hog EQ possible for him. We'll see if one of those two go that way. NATO is out, so a nice buff to both Miner and Hog for Inthrill if he chooses to go that way. But starting off pretty slow, not what you'd expect if he was going cycle.
That's right, and again, I want to talk about the pressure of this game. Inthrill needs a golden ticket, so you have to start off the day 1-0 to give yourself that best chance. Wallace needs to finish top 4 in order to get there by points, so he needs this one. We saw top 4 from him last month. Can he do it again is the question. Game 3, and right here, I mean, just all the pressure in the world. This is what we've been waiting for this entire year.
Very interesting variations from both these players. You see Inthrill opting to go with the Bats cycle for the minor wall breakers. Very different look than the most popular one. Recruits coming out to support rather than the Evo Knight. And then Wallace going with this guards variation. Thoughts on the guards pick here for this Hog deck?
Yeah, I believe this might be the second time that we've seen the guards be used, so it's got to be really solid in this meta, and it's also the second time that we've seen this this minor Royal Recruits deck. So both players, I want to say this might have even been the exact matchup between Sub and his opponent from our last set, but I'm not sure. But yeah, I love the guards. I think they just defend so well in a lot of different situations.
And Hog to the right-hand side, nothing but Miner to defend. Firecracker lines up its damage, and they're just going to go ahead and exchange some damage. Wallace coming out way below on that. You see the look on his face. He went heavy with the Hog and then the Firecracker and Inthrill. Looking at the cycle going, you can't stop recruits of the wall breakers right now. GG, well played. You see on screen, at the moment, 100% win rate so far this season with this deck from Inthrill.
Yeah, and a lot of it comes down to using the Royal Delivery. You already went against the Lava, so I mean, I think it's more important to use the Snowball or the Log, whatever you have left, because the delivery, it's just not quick enough. He tried getting aggressive with the Firecracker at the bridge, and it just wasn't enough. That's going to be towered down. He just does not have the small troops to be able to defend it.
And huge performance from Inthrill. The Evo Firecracker is on the board. Wallace just opting not to try to go for it, not to try to get the EQ and the Hog Rider down, and just going to go ahead and reset, I guess, for the next round and hope that he can pull it out. Needs 2 wins so far, not putting any on the board for this weekend.
Wow, what a set from Inthril, and he's going to be our first player to knock off the favorite of this opening day. Inthril, I mean, just a spectacular set from him. Very few mistakes overall, and his deck choices, I mean, he got sniped hardcore in game number 2, but I still usually like Lava in your game 2 or your game 3. It usually works out.
It worked out, and overall though for Inthril with the recruits pick in the last game, and you know we've seen minor wall breakers in various ways, but evolved recruits now starting to get in the mix and change things up for what is a deck that typically has run mostly fairly small cards, Josh.
Yeah, and with Inthril, he is now up to 7 straight sets of using Royal Recruits Evo in CRL. He used it in every single set in the round of 32, and he has now used it in every single set in the monthly final. So I would not be shocked if we continue to see that deck be used by him as this monthly final goes on.
And you see, look at these replays, Josh, and it feels like 95% of the problem from Wallace is decision making, whether it's making decisions too slow or making the wrong decisions. You know, you look at some of these situations, and a lot of these games really could have gone his way with just a couple of moments making better choices.
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen. Sometimes you will not be at your best. Either you didn't get enough sleep or the pressure's on. There's so many different facets to this game that it's not just the game itself. Right there, Wallace, something was off in that first set, so I'd love to see him try and bounce back, get a full reset, because that's what he needs to do. He needs to change something of his gameplay. And here we go. Let's take a look at game number 1. Inthril took the victory with the Goblin Giant Sparky against. Oh wait.
And
okay, yeah. Just making sure I didn't. Yeah. So Inthril takes game number 1 with the Goblin Giant Sparky. Those Royal Recruits from Wallace just weren't enough. It was just great offense from Inthril, winning the game pretty much in the opening minute.
Yeah, we saw from a really brilliant attempt at the defense, but just a half step late with the minor, and you saw Wallace's face kind of upset about that one. Interesting deck here with the Mother Witch in this construction for minor wall breakers. On to game number 2, Wallace did get himself back in the win column with a phenomenal deck pick against Inthril, going with the executioner variation of the drill cycle deck, and this was Wallace's best performance by far.
Yeah, I want to go back to the fact that he allowed so much damage early game. It was a lot more stressful as a viewer, but I really think it was the correct decision. He knew that he had the matchup. He knew that it was okay if his opponent was always going to go left lane. He could always use the executioner. I think it was actually a really intelligent play from him, and one that it doesn't really make sense, but it also, like, if you can just guarantee a victory, then that's okay. I've loved that choice by him in the game number 2.
On to game number 3, and this was interesting, right? You see the minor wall breakers come out for Inthril, runs recruits one more time, and you know it seemed like once again there are some challenges in this deck. Obviously, you mentioned the delivery not being the greatest in the situation, the Inferno Tower not really having a great target in this one. But again, this felt like there were just some macro decisions that Wallace struggled with.
Yeah, and I mean, the macro is going to play into the micro. A lot of it comes down to the decision making that you were saying. There was one point where I was about to say I love that pressure because he did hog when his opponent had to minor on defense, and then he used the firecracker, but really it comes down to Inthril outplayed him in that scenario. He allowed the damage from the firecracker because as soon as he placed the firecracker on offense, Inthril went with the wall breakers on offense. Great awareness of the situation, great awareness of your opponent's deck, and he deserved that game number 3, and he deserved that set victory overall.
And a big set victory for Inthril, who does take one step closer to a golden ticket. Juicy, you saw some mistakes there. This was not the cleanest of our matchups of the day. In the end, though, Inthril taking the victory.
Yeah, I think you talked about Wallace's decision making, and I think that was absolutely correct. I think the biggest one that I saw was just a big macro decision to play guards in the back. I don't know if we had the replay on it, but he played guards in the back on the right-hand side when he had, when Intel had those recruits, was Wallbreakers coming in, to cycle to the roll delivery for defense. If he would have just played guards near his tower and then delivery, then he would have taken 0 damage, but instead he opted to take 1,000 damage. It's just those small decisions of where to place a certain card while you're cycling to the card you need for defense that can make all the difference.
Well, let's take a look at how that difference shook out as we have gotten through our first round of gameplay and our bracket started to take shape for the second stage in our upper bracket. No surprises there. Mohamed Light against Ian. Ian with a big opportunity, but also the biggest test of his competitive career. Vitor already has a World Finals berth secured, but of course, winning a golden ticket would open up more spots for either Ian and Wallace, Ian or Air Surfer, or of course Wallace and Air Surfer. More on that later. Up against Inthrill, who came out hot in this first matchup. But now we get into our lower bracket matches, fellas, and these are the elimination matches. Black Pearl versus Codigo. Both of them need to get a golden ticket, and so lose today, you are absolutely out. And then Sub versus Wallace, where also neither of them can afford a loss. Wallace still needs to get those 2 victories to make that top 4 and get into a World Finals position.
Absolutely. I mean, Black Pearl, it's going to be a tough one to play against Codigo, that veteran. He's definitely a little bit new into the CRL scene. He had a very tough match versus Mohamed Light. It is the meta for a player like Black Pearl, though. He's geared towards that beatdown. He needs to come out with some comforts, with like Lava, Golem, you know, crazy Giant Goblin, Giant Sparky even. And maybe he can overwhelm Codigo in this next match to go forward here to get that golden ticket. Codigo's in that same situation, though. He needs the golden ticket to qualify for that World Finals.
Let's go ahead and check in on our points leaderboard. Not a lot of changes here, obviously, as there are only a couple of players who are still in the points mix. Vitor, as we know, already secured his World Finals position. Still nice and above Ruben. Keep in mind, though, folks, and we'll talk about this more as we get into tomorrow, that where you finish on the points leaderboard does affect your seeding. And I'm going to confirm this, but I believe that 7th place in the points leaderboard means that you are the 16th seed, which would put you against the first month's golden ticket winner, which is Mohamed Light. So not only are you trying to figure out getting to World Finals on its own, but this seeding for Worlds will be very important as well. You talk about movement, though. Ian, with that victory, does take himself one step closer. Of course, still needs to get into that top 2, into that grand final, but you see the extra points here, 360, taking one step closer to his chase after Air Surfer, really hoping that he can get those extra victories. But as we talked about, he has Mohamed Light. Let's take a look at how the 3 of us are calling these matchups. And my guess here is, yes, none of us on the desk making the pick for Ian. He would love to prove us all wrong. The one outlier here, we go to our 6th match. Josh and I both picking Wallace. Juicy, you're going with Sub in this matchup.
Yeah, you know, it's an interesting call by me. I definitely think Wallace is probably the favorite on paper. But after seeing that last best of 3 from Wallace, it just doesn't seem like he's confident. And it doesn't seem like he's got the momentum on his side. And Clash Royale is a game of momentum. I mean, the only player that I've seen absolutely dominate, even after a loss in the first round, is Mohamed Light. And that's another level. Wallace getting sent to this losers bracket here. It's gonna be tough for him to make the comeback. On the other hand, Sub, I was very fascinated with his gameplay in his first round match, especially that second game. He played fantastically. If he can, like we talked about, bring that energy here versus Wallace, I think he has a chance to win. So that's why I had to go for him.
One note on that one, Wallace did face Mohamed Light in the first round of our last month's monthly final, and then battled through the lower bracket, beating Adriel and Ta to make it all the way back against Mo again in the top 4. So Wallace has done it. We'll see if he can do it here, but that match will have to wait a bit because coming up next, an elimination matchup between longtime veteran, now at this point, 6-year veteran, Codigo, for CRL up against Black Pearl. And Josh, the veteran was not able to carry the day in his first round matchup. Do you think he gets it done here against Black Pearl, who's coming off of a rude reception from our defending world champion?
Yeah, I think the momentum still has to fall with Codigo. He played an all right set, but he has to take a look. I mean, he has to take a look at the macro of the matchup. Yes, you are a veteran. You played okay, but you can do better. But your opponent didn't get damage on his opponent's tower in the first game, and then he still got just beat down quickly in game number 2. So I want Codigo to play safer decks. He has to realize, because a lot of the times when you are like a tier A pro, you're going into the game saying, oh, I need to get matchups, I need to do something. Right there, he's the pro in this situation that is going to dominate if he gets the right matchups. So he has to play slow, calm, collected, and just choose okay decks, ones where he can outplay his opponent, because he is the better player in this set.
On the other side of this thing, Juicy, we have Black Pearl, who it felt like it was hard to make an evaluation with what he faced in the Mohamed Light match. Obviously, going to be feeling the stress here. I'll let you guys take this one away, but let's lead in with what does Black Pearl need to do here?
Yeah, I talked about it a little bit while we were looking at the bracket. I think Black Pearl, he's got to go for comfort with big, heavy decks. Looks like that's what he's going to be doing here as we see the Goblin Cage. And he also needs to look to take opportunities for big punishes. We saw last month, Daniel Basoto actually able to beat Mohamed Light by punishing with the Evo cards, like the Evo Barbarians. That is what has to happen from Black Pearl here. He needs to wait for Codigo to overextend. You know, Codigo, a great cycle player. Maybe he'll overextend it at some point, like trying to rely on those quick, cheap cycle cards, but that's not possible versus the Evo meta.
And right there, Ghost going to come out from Codigo. So Codigo is going to be running the Mega Knight, Miner, probably going to be the Prince, and then Arrows and Zap as his last cards. But it also could be Bandit. Either way, going to be a Mega Knight control deck from Codigo. Black Pearl, he's going to be running that Flying Machine, Royal Recruits, all those cards. And no, it's going to be the Firecracker variation. Does Codigo have a small spell or not is the question. But either way, these Mega Knights are going to be able to clean up nicely as long as they don't get overwhelmed if placed incorrectly on the board.
Yeah, you make a good call on the Mega Knight. It's definitely going to be the key to this matchup. Very important versus the Recruits, very important versus the Pigs, very important versus the Zappies. The question really is Codigo able to get enough Mega Knights on the board for all of those options? Because the Firecracker really not going to be able to control very easily. Not going to be able to get as much value since Black Pearl does have those arrows.
And right there, Codigo going to be using the Prince. So the Bandit would have been... I think the Prince is probably the worst variation of this deck against this matchup, just because if it was Bandit, he could go quicker and then get back to more Mega Knights. Instead, he might have some trouble, especially because he has to play the Mega Knight in the back. And those Royal Recruits, yes, it's a bunch of squishy troops, but they're still squishy with a decent amount of health. And once they start attacking, they're going to put it in a lot of work.
Prince on the defense, Evo Firecracker as well. Does Black Pearl have another spell to deal with his Evo Firecracker? That's the one thing. Arrow does not kill it, so you need some sort of other small spell to deal with that. Wallbreaker on the left is going to get a connection. Ghost, Evo Firecracker on the right, trying to get a connection as well. He goes for a pretty bad Golden Knight. He was trying to activate King Tower there, but instead the Evo Firecracker is going to get 2 nice shots on the tower on the right side.
And right there, no dash, so the Prince is going to be able to make the dash onto the Golden Knight. Right now, a pretty large advantage from Codigo, but this is the case with every single Royal Hogs, Royal Recruits deck out there. You can be winning the entire time, but you only need one push to go your way. You only need to stack 2 Flying Machines to make it impossible to defend for you. So we'll see how he wants to approach this end game right here. Royal Recruits, Evos at the bridge, a lot of pressure on the left, decent amount of pressure on the right. How is he going to attack this push?
Needs to get that to Mega Knight down the left. There it goes. Goblin Brawler, IDPS card, going to be smacking that Mega Knight. They're taking it down quite well. Flying Machine is a threat. He probably has bats to cycle for that though. And Código attacking that defense perfectly with that Mega Knight there. And now the Evil Firecracker going to cycle once again. We saw the last time the Evil Firecracker was on the board, it got so much value. This time he's going to use the Fireball though, so he does have the Fireball to deal with that Evil Firecracker. It makes me wonder if it was a mistake to not use the Fireball on it in the first push where he took all that damage.
Yeah, that's something that he's going to have to clean up this final minute to decide who's going to be walking away with the Game 1 victory. Arrows plus Prince are going to be able to take out 2 of the recruits on the left side, but a decent amount on the right. And so the Ghost plus the Prince plus the Miner, he's spending everything he possibly can to defend this. Tower's going to get all the way down to 1698. But look at the right side, still not going to be enough. I mean, there's only 200 HP lead right now, but especially with the help of this this Firecracker at the bridge, that's the space that he needed right there. Only 20 seconds for Black Pearl.
Blind Dash going to defend, Miner going to defend on the right. Black Pearl needs a push, he needs it now, but the thing is the Mega Knight is in the cycle. And Código knows that. He can go for the Mega Knights on the left side to make sure that there's not too much damage to come in. Wait a second, Piggy's connecting, Fireball comes through, but it's not gonna be enough. Just barely. Barely Black Pearl is gonna be losing this game here. He tried to make it happen in that last push.
Yeah, I really appreciate that he split the Royal Hogs, give himself a little bit of pressure on both lanes to potentially have Código make some mistakes. Not going to happen though. Código cleans it up nicely and going to go up 1-0 in this best of 3. Black Pearl, I mean, really, if you take a look at everything, you just want him to get a victory at this point. You want him to have a little bit of success in the monthly finals because, hey, you know, there's always the next tournament that you can do. And so you just want to give yourself momentum, realize that you can hang with these guys. And then once you get 1 win, that's when you start getting 2 wins and 3 wins and 4 wins. So I'd love to see him push this to a game 3.
Código starting this game out with the Rage. Black Pearl's not reacting. Going for another beatdown type deck. We see a Skelly King in the back. Is this gonna mean a... Please tell me this is not Elixir Golem from Código here. Okay, thankfully not.
Yeah, the bowler would have been able to put in so much work in that matchup. So it looks like Black Pearl is probably gonna be running Loon Freeze with the Lumberjack. Código on the other side, I mean, he has the Zappies, he has the Tombstone. He probably has the Fireball as well in this matchup. So I would assume this is probably going to be an advantageous game for Código, but we'll have to see how this plays out.
You know, he's got the Zappies, he's got the Mother Witch, he's got a Tombstone to pull the balloon. The thing is Black Pearl has that freeze. As we saw in the 2021 World Finals, you know, Lumberloon freeze, anything can happen. He just needs 1 good push. It looks like he's got the Evo Barbs as well, so that's gonna be pretty good for defense versus these RGs. Overall, I mean, I would say the matchup looks, you know, maybe fairly even. You know, we're gonna have to see who is going to play better to see who wins this match.
Heading into Double Elixir, not a lot of just offense from both of these opponents. A nice Fisherman going to be able to pull the Bowler, but the Lumberjack, with the help of the Bowler, going to clean up everything decently nicely. And then it's just going to be a full reset from both players. Evoed RG coming out from Código. The beginning of an Evoed RG, aka the normal RG. But yeah, we are going to see a lot more pressure from Código, and now that we've hit Double Elixir.
Zabby is going to try and reset this in front of Jack, but they actually lock... No, they do not all lock onto the bars. Fireball's going to try and kill the Evo bars, but they survive. Bowler does a great job versus Skelly King. I mean, I can't help but think the more time goes on this match, the closer we get to Triple Elixir, the more Black Pearl has the advantage. Here comes the Balloon with the Lumberjack. Evo RG on the tower. He's going to get the Inferno Drag down to deal with that, but here comes the Balloon on the left.
And right there, he's going to Zappies low and then Fireball it off the tower. No, he's going to choose to just use the Mother Witch, not going to get a second shot. Right now, a lot of pressure coming down the field from both opponents. This is anybody's game as we head into overtime period.
I can't help but think that Black Pearl wins this game already if he just froze those Zappies. He just froze just the tower. If he would have froze all 3 Zappies, he would at least get 1 more balloon hit, maybe even 2 more balloon hits in that situation. Now, Código's in a great spot. He just needs to have pretty solid defense, get a couple more RG shots, and he's going to win this game.
And right here, RG is going to get frozen. Kodigo could choose to use the fireball on offense, going to elect to reset. That way he can get his Evo'd RG on the board with that offensive pressure. And now, actually, I really like that Nado. Gonna still allow for everything to go down his lane. He's gonna dictate how this game goes.
I love the bowler here. It's definitely not impossible for Black Pearl to come back if he can just keep stacking this left-hand lane with the bowlers. He is going to pressure the opposite lane with the RG. That makes a lot of sense. Inferno Dragon going to fight that off, though, and he's got a defense to deal with.
So he can tombstone super late. I would have actually liked to see that a lot later because now the balloon is going to get the shot. Had he gone a little bit later, he could have potentially set it up so that way it was going to have to reset and not hit the tower. But right tower down to 978. Does he have the fireball in hand? Those Evo barbs are eating it up, but the RG will still get one shot. Close game, anybody's game, but especially with the nod of the head, it looks like Inthro might take it, but clean defense from Kodigo so far.
Is he going to get a freeze on these zappies? He's not going to. Will the balloon get death damage? I believe it will. Barbs on the defense on the right. Here comes the evil RG. Does he have the fireball? No, he doesn't have enough elixir for the fireball. And I think it's over, but Black Pearl actually over-committing on defense with the freeze. Bowler's going to kill this tombstone, though. Zappies will not reset the bowler, so the tombstone does go down. Fireball missed the balloon. That's game.
Wow, right there. Great game from Black Pearl, and he got his victory. He played well, he applied pressure, he defended properly as well. Kodigo did a great job of trying to apply pressure opposite lane when Black Pearl was setting up his pushes, but it meant nothing because Black Pearl knows how to play that matchup. He can get aggressive and still have enough for the Inferno Dragon and Barbs. Great game from Black Pearl and great attempts from Kodigo. But it was just too clean on defense, and we are headed to game 3. And both these players need a golden ticket. We'll see who's going to be the first player to make it to the second round in the lower bracket, and who's going to be the first player out.
Elite Barbarians rage at the bridge at the starting play. There's a tornado to get a King Tower activation, but this one raged Elite Barbarian on the tower is going to be brutal, taking this tower down below half HP already, and immediately Black Pearl goes and like for an elixir pump right away. And Kodigo's gonna actually reset with his own elixir pump as well. Overall though, Black Pearl up a lot of damage and a lot of elixir.
When taking a look at Kodigo's deck, I have to think he might be running Golem.
Yeah.
And then, so that's gonna be Golem with potentially, if it is Golem, does he have a big spell or no?
No, he does not have a big spell. He's got, last cards are gonna be Electro Dragon and the Golem. So, you know, you make a great point there. Without a big spell, it's going to be very difficult to deal with these Three Musketeers. The Three Musketeers are going to do a great job of cleaning up on defense. Kodigo's idea to try and break through the Three Musketeers is going to be a tornado to pull in the Three Musketeers into his Golem push along with the Electro Dragon, and maybe even potentially Evo Knight in front of the Golem push to tank for as much as possible.
Wow, so almost into double elixir, still another 20 seconds to go. He can allow the ghost to hit because he knows that his opponent is going to be running 3M, not going to have a great way to take out the tower, but instead elects to defend it. And with the help of the NATO, is it going to come out in time? It does take out one of the Musketeers and almost the other two, but with the help of the Bar Barrel, should be able to defend this very, very easily.
Yeah, if you're Kodigo, you got to be very happy with that. That was a pretty plausible elixir trade versus three Musketeers. And now he's going to be able to get this elixir pump down. Black Pearl will go along with his own elixir pump, but Kodigo's doing a pretty good job of starting the comeback.
Yeah, right here, he is pumping up. He has a knight on the board, and his opponent is splitting Three Musketeers. I don't disagree or agree with it just yet. We're gonna have to see how this plays out. Skeleton Dragon's low, going to be able to clean up these E-barbs, and you can give up a lot of damage just because the left one is the lower one. It doesn't really matter if he gets a ton of pressure on the right side, and this is gonna be a heavy Golem push on the left side right now.
Josh, I don't want to call it too early, but it looks like this could be game over. Look at this tornado pulling both of the Musketeers into the double Electro Dragon, wiping them off the board, and that's 9 elixir down the drain. We got 4 dragons on the map. This tower is dropping. That is going to be game over. Kodigo taking game 3, moving on and sending Black Pearl out. out of the monthly finals.
Oh, beautiful job from Cody Go. Recognizes his opponent's deck. What do I need to do to stop it? Let me pump up, pump up, pump up. Double elixir happens. I just need one clean defense. And it really, a lot of it comes down to, first of all, why is Black Pearl cycling the Three Musketeers that way? Because you need them in the back. You need them to get the DPS onto the golem. And the other thing is, Cody Go did a great job of playing the Skeleton Dragons low. They don't need to stop the E-Barbs from touching the tower. They need to stop the E-Barbs from taking the tower. And so they get a lot of chip damage, but it's not enough. And the golem push on the left side is too strong, and he takes the win.
Yeah, you talked a little bit about the split of the Three Musketeers there, not knowing if it was a good play or not. I think the real mistake there was actually where he split them. He split them in front of his King Tower instead of behind the tower. And that's what allowed those Musketeers to walk up very close to easily be taken out by the Electro Dragon. And then when the second round of Three Musketeers came down, he had 2 Electro Dragons on the map at that point. It was just game over.
Yeah. I mean, once you get that second E-Dragon up, and you don't have a spell to take him out, it is just so deadly. Just great pressure from Cody Go in that game number 3. Let's take a look through these replays. Anything special? Actually, quite a bit. There was a lot of solid gameplay overall. But really, game 3 is where it all counted. So this is the one that matters the most, and Cody Go played it pretty exceptionally well. I was very impressed with the golem gameplay overall. It's just awesome when a player recognizes how they have to win the matchup, and then they just start to play that way. Because the opening minute, Cody Go was outplayed, but then as soon as every card started to get revealed, that's when he really flipped the script.
Can we look at that NATO onto those Three Musketeers one more time? The E-Drag plus the second E-Drag in combination with the Rage just obliterated them off the map. Who needs a big spell when you have that? Let's go ahead and look at the decks here. Looking at game number 1. Well, talk to me about this matchup overall, Josh.
Yeah, so Cody Go, he played it really, really well. A lot of it comes down to, can you apply pressure early on where you can get a lot of chip damage? Because, I mean, when you're applying pressure, you're going Wallbreaker's Bridge, and you're forcing out 4 Elixir from Black Pearl, which, I mean, yes, you have a Brawler coming down the lane, but then Cody Go's Ghost gets value, or his Firecracker gets value, and then it's more pressure. So it's very difficult to keep up with it early on. Cody Go got a lot of damage, and then really it comes down to, can Black Pearl overwhelm? I really think a lot of these players, if they focus more on the flying machine, they could potentially have a lot more success. And I just don't think we're seeing that from these flying machine games. Game 1, yeah, just overall great defense and great pressure early on.
Game number 2, we did see Black Pearl win this one. He played fantastically with the Bowler Lum Balloon Freeze. We were talking a little bit about Black Pearl's deck pool before the start of the monthly finals, and Rich said that it was one of his comforts, and he played like it. He played fantastically using the bowlers who kind of clog up the lanes. Those evil barbs did fantastic as well. Cody Go never got the opportunity to break through with the RG. In order to do it, you need to get the fireball plus a rage to kill the evil barbs, almost a pre-fireball in certain situations. But the whole time, Black Pearl did a great job of pressuring the opposite lane, never allowing something like that to happen.
Yeah, the bars in this deck now, instead of the bar barrel, it's just so heavy and so awkward, but he managed to make it work. Game number 3, Golem Pump versus 3M Pump. Who can get the more pumps? I mean, that's just how it is. Who can get more pumps on the board? Cody Go recognized it really quickly, and at first it was Black Pearl. He was the one to throw the first one up, but then as the game went on, Cody Go, all he was doing was cycling to pumps, and that's what you have to do in that matchup. And the Golem push, I mean, stop it. Golem, E-Dragon, Skeleton Dragons, NATO, just brilliant stuff from him. And yeah, just beautiful stuff from him overall. Rich, Cody Go, making it to the second round. You gotta like seeing that.
Yeah, you have to expect that Cody is going to have some good performances here. A super decorated veteran who's been a talented player for a very long time, and with some beautiful plays. And Juicy, ask, you shall receive. Let's go ahead and look at that Golem push one more time, the final winning play. It was the pump-off between Golem and Three Musketeers, and this NATO ended up changing everything. Juicy, talk us through this wonderful moment.
I mean, the tornado here, usually it's not enough if you can protect in time, but this rage from Black Pearl, it was not going to do anything. And the rage from the Lumberjack, the double E-Dragon, it just evaporated those Three Musketeers. At that point in the game, it was over.
This is the nightmare you have when you think about playing against Golem. It's what we saw right there, and Cody going full Freddy Krueger on Black Pearl in this one. Josh, we now have eliminated one of our players, getting closer and closer to that overall final situation as Cody moves on, and he'll be awaiting one of the losers from our upper bracket semis. Whose chances do you think get the best now that Cody has opened? Do you like having Cody in the mix there as we're talking about the Air Surfer situation? Does Cody create more threats for the guys who could knock him out?
Yeah, I have to say so. It doesn't matter. You can beat him 10 times in a row on ladder, and you can chalk that up as, hey, I'm the better player, blah, blah, blah. But really, on game day, Cody he's so determined to win it. He's going to get at least decent matchups for himself. You do not want to be seeing Cody if you're Wallace. I mean, or Vitor or Ian or any of these players that are trying to push themselves up on the leaderboards. Cody is that dark horse who can easily take sets off you.
And he'll be on to that next round, but we have another elimination matchup coming up next. Wallace and Sub. And, on paper, this is one of those ones that you talk about. We talked about our predictions earlier on that Wallace would be the favorite here. Juicy, you were picking Sub based on the momentum. But, it's one of those big questions, right? We've seen Wallace be an up and down player. Do you think that do you stick with that? The momentum will carry Wallace down and Sub up?
Yeah, it's really tough to say. I really liked what I saw from Sub's gameplay in his first round. I really didn't like what I saw from Wallace in his game too. So I had to try to go for the pick here on Sub. But at the same time, Wallace is not the type of player that really gets too much affected by nerves or anything like that. I remember meeting him at the creator camp in LA a few months ago, and he was just casually sitting at the lunch table. We were all eating lunch, and he was pushing to #1 in the world on ladder, and it was just, no big deal for Wallace. And I think using that, he might have a chance to kind of reverse the momentum that he's had so far in the monthly finals.
Well, as we get ready for this one, Josh, we know that Sub tends to be cycle. He pulled out Lava Loon, though, in the game 1 against Vitor in that Royal Giant matchup. Is that kind of the rhythm? He went cycle control, and beatdown. Do you think he'll play kind of a similar 3-part construction this time?
With it being the loser, the lower bracket, I'd like to see him just go cycle. I want to see him play his best decks, give himself the best possible chance. I want to see all his best decks right now. Forget matches, forget everything else. Just say to yourself, hey, I'm good enough. I can beat him. Let me show what I've got.
And of course, watching this matchup very closely from home, our current #7 on the leaderboards in a position to make World Finals. That will be Air Surfer. If Wallace goes out, one of the biggest threats, if not the biggest threat to Air Surfer's World Finals berth, will be eliminated. So right now, not just important for Sub, not just important for Wallace, but also important for Air Surfer as well. Here we go. We're saying bye to Josh. Juicy, as we kick things off, the rarely seen Zap.
Zap, Barbs, and a Bomber. That is going to be meaning a Lava Loon once again from Sub. Wallace with the Hog, Firecracker, and Earthquake. Well, we'll see if he's got Earthquake or Fireball, but if he does have the Earthquake, it's going to be a tough matchup. You need a Fireball or maybe even a Royal Delivery to be able to deal with the big lava pushes here.
And King Tower activation, no surprises there, but Valk gets in deep for some damage. Early hits done by Wallace, who's already now gotten his second Firecracker down. Evolution will be out on his next cycle, which will be good for him when that Lava Hound does come down.
Inferno Drag dropping on the defense versus this Hog is getting a couple very solid shots. Firecracker getting damage as well. Sub shaking his head a little bit. I think the Inferno could be placed a little bit better on the inside part of the tower there. That could have been a bit of a better defense. And you're right, Rich. I mean, that is the only reaction you can have when you see an Inferno tower and you're using Lava Hound. That is going to widely shift this completely in Wallace's favor for this matchup. And he's already got the damage lead to back that up as well.
I was going to say, doing exactly what he needs, getting the lead early in this one, and then we'll see how aggressively he cycles back to the Inferno tower here. Does have the evolved Firecracker down. Then that's going to require some extra expenditures. You see Arrow Zap coming out to clean it off the board. Hog goes under for a couple of big shots. Inferno to clear. What does Sub do, if anything, to take this game back?
That is probably one of the most difficult questions you have ever asked me, because I honestly have no idea. Wallace is playing this to a T. The perfect pressure on the Hog Rider and the single elixir. Knowing his opponent has to go for arrows out of the Firecracker, pressure with another Hog. Gets Evo Barbs down. I mean, even has Valkyrie for Evo Barbs, Rich. This is just a tough call. This is a tough comeback situation for Sub.
And easily cycling back to the Inferno tower is Wallace, so firmly in control. This Loon with the evolved barbs should get some death damage at least, and it will. 1800 going to go down to 1561 on the right-hand side, but now barbs not there for the Hog, which will take care of business. And this is a clean and easy game number 1 for Wallace, as the delivery does come out to clean up those barbs at the end.
He even had the delivery. This is the perfect example of a snipe in Clash Royale. I mean, great deck play from Wallace. There's almost nothing that Sub can do in that situation, and he played perfectly as well to back that up. We're heading into game 2. Hopefully Sub has some sort of other deck here cooking up that he can make it happen with, because he needs to win this game.
You got to imagine he's going to be going minor wall breakers here. That's just where he plays best. His back to the wall. Let's see if Wallace is picking that one as the option. And Knight will be in the Evo slot, picks up minor to start. And Wallace looking like maybe a Remy variation, as Sub now with the Mother Witch getting aggressive here early on.
Great King Tower activation versus the one piggy from the Mother Witch. That's going to help him out so much throughout the entirety of this match, especially versus deck like Sub's Goblin Giant Sparky. You know, a lot of the time the defenses can be difficult, but using these good bomb towers, middle placement, it's going to pull everything in range of all 3 of your towers to help on the defense. This is perfect textbook defense from Wallace.
Now, Wallace did struggle in a similar matchup. If we go back to our last round, Wallace was playing a minor wall breakers deck against a Goblin Giant Sparky. In fact, possibly a very close to a very similar construction. What's the difference here? I mean, obviously he's playing the Remy variation rather than the recruits with the Skeleton King. How much does that improve the chances for Wallace?
I think that improves the chances a lot. The Evo Knight does a great job of tanking Sparky. Having the King Tower activation, you know, it really doesn't seem like much on paper, but it is. That King Tower activation, especially so early on, is going to do a great job. Sub is really the one that's going to be on the back pedal here, because breaking through, it's not going to be easy. This is what he has to do, though. He's got the Evo Knight for the pressure, but Wallace has the Evo Knight for defense as well.
Log, Bomb Tower, Evo Knight, and all of that with the King Tower activated will shut it down. Sub threw everything plus the kitchen sink and came out with an absolute bagel from that push.
Beautiful. Mother Witch on this defense, going to spawn a couple piggies. Sub does have the Fireball for the Magic Archer. That's going to be useful. I think this Mother Witch is really going to be the main component of Sub's deck if he is going to make this comeback. You need some massive Mother Witch value versus the Spear Gobs, versus the Wall Breakers, and with the pushes, kind of taking advantage of the fact that Wallace doesn't have a big spell to deal with it.
And so Wallace playing this very much like the control deck, getting some good opportune moments. You saw the Knight plus Wall Breakers push on the right-hand side. Should be able to take care of these minions fairly easily. And now defensive minor to make sure he controls the Dark Prince on the right-hand side. This is a big push on the right. Wallace needs to get back to a bomb tower and puts it very far to the right. NATO to control. Was that intentional or was that an error on the side of Wallace?
You know, it's a great question. I think that, like, basically what happened there is that the bomb tower death explosion will actually block you from placing a building, which is why he tried to play a little bit further away, or maybe he didn't try to, or maybe he had to. Great tornado, though, to make up for the slight mistake, or maybe not mistake, but mishap on that defense, and he's good. He's chilling, he's up a lot of damage. He just need to continue these perfect defenses.
And a little aggressive here, lining up the Magic Archer and the Mother Witch. Takes the Mother Witch off the board, gets some good damage. But now you see Sub recognizing the situation and going full send. This might be the push that defines this matchup. Miner to control, Bomb Tower doing its job, Goblin Giant trying to break through, NATO pulls. That is a mini P.E.K.K.A. behind and a great kite from the Wall Breakers, but the rage is there. Evolved Knight picks up, 1401 left-hand side, triple elixir flowing. Sub is in this one, Juicy.
He played that really well. That Evo Knight was at 1 HP, tanking that left side tower the entire time. That's what allowed him to really break through for some sort of damage, but he needs to do that again. The problem is it takes you 3 cycles to get back to Evo Knight, and there's only 40 seconds left in the game. He's doing his best.
Knight on the left-hand lane, Mother Witch trying to work on that. Bomb Tower not quite in range to help. Log comes out, 589 left-hand side, 26 seconds left. Fireball onto the Magic Archer. Is there magic here for Sub, or will his World Finals hopes end right here? He loads up at the bridge, 15 seconds left, tries to get the Magic Archer on the right to get out of the game with that rage. Can he break through? Fireball in, nope, that's gonna be it. Juicy, Wallace stays alive, needs one more win to qualify for World Finals.
That was beautiful. Sub clapping his hands a little bit, saying well played on that defense. I mean, that push looked scary left-hand side until that Magic Archer dropped in the left corner. That tornado brought everything together with the splash damage of the Magic Archer and the bomb tower. He deleted everything. The fireball was not quick in time. It's almost like Sub needed a prediction fireball onto the Magic Archer there to have a chance to break through, because it got so much value before the fireball came out.
And yeah, the Magic Archer was consistently valuable throughout that matchup. But the biggest moment for me has to be that brilliant kite. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the earlier matchup. And this was just, you know, you and I both had some fun reactions, Juicy. Every card we saw out of Wallace ended up being oh boy, and then the Inferno Tower came out and shut things down.
And then even the roll delivery at the end, it was like, oh, he had that the whole time as well. Looking at game 2, we saw the Spear Gobs pressure in the opposite lane. We saw Wall Breakers in the opposite lane, just chipping left, right, left, right. Here's that moment I was talking about. Look at that defense. This bomb tower, that Magic Archer, the NATO perfectly pulling everything together. The minions died. It doesn't matter if an Evo Knight is tanking everything. If the splash damage is going to hit everything else behind it, it melted.
And before that, the cycle before that, the big push that Sub almost got, Wallace just very cool-headed, a brilliant kite with the Wall Breakers to keep the mini P.E.K.K.A. to pull back the low HP Evolved Knight. So really smart stuff out of him in that matchup. Here we go, game number 1. Hey, we see it's Hog EQ. Okay, Valk is nice for those Evo barbs. And then, of course, the Inferno Tower comes out. And on top of that, the final card, the Royal Delivery. Great deck pick here by Wallace.
Great deck pick indeed. You know, a lot of the time with a lava deck like this, if your opponent has the Inferno Tower, you can rely on the Evo Barbs for kind of a pseudo win condition in combination with the Balloon. The Bomb Tower does great versus the Evo Barbs, but you wouldn't have enough air defense. So Wallace says, you know what? I can do both. I can have the Inferno Tower. I can put the Valkyrie in instead of an Evo Knight and use the Evo Firecracker to my advantage. And it was just a beautiful deck pick game 1 and beautiful gameplay as well. He did a great job pressuring throughout that match.
Game number 2, Remy deck comes out against the Goblin Giant Sparky. And this was interesting. We don't see the minion variation as much here. A couple of changes from the matchup that we saw earlier, and Wallace playing this brilliantly. And a lot of players, Juicy, I think would crumble under the late game pressure, but Wallace's control in the final minute and a half was perfect.
Absolutely. I want to touch on that minions thing once again. Is it usually Skeleton Dragons? I think it's usually Skeleton Dragons that are in this deck. The Skeleton Dragons don't do a good job enough of killing and distracting an Inferno Tower. We saw Sub absolutely get destroyed by an Inferno Tower using this deck in the first match that he used it. So he switched to the minions, but this is the match where he needed the Skelly Dragons. Skelly Dragons get so much value versus this Magikarp Tornado deck. I think that could have been a big difference maker, and he might have even been able to win this if he had the Skeleton Dragons in version instead, but a little bit unlucky with the deck pick there. Minions getting destroyed by the Magikarp Tornado.
Well, and I want to just correct something there as we look at the deck. It wasn't a Goblin Giant Sparky deck. It was just a Goblin Giant beatdown deck, right? So that's one of those things where you're sitting there going like, well, 7 of these cards all make sense, and then suddenly there's no Sparky in that deck. Josh, I see your face. I think that the same sleight of hand might have messed you up there, because I was comparing that deck to the deck that Wallace faced against Inthril earlier, and I was like, what's wrong here? There's something I'm not seeing. There was no Sparky.
Yeah. I'm trying to like load the YouTube of this show because it doesn't make any sense. But I don't think it would have changed anything. I think Wallace was playing too well. Yeah, I mean, the match, it was just basically you would get into the match and he was getting hard countered. And that happened for game 1 and game 2. I don't think he played it all that poorly. I just think he was overmatched and over deck matched as well.
Well, we are getting closer and closer to some decision-making moments. Let's look at our bracket. We are down to 6. Codigo and Wallace both done for the day. We'll see them back here tomorrow when Codigo will kick off our next elimination match against the loser of our upcoming match. Codigo and Wallace do make the top 6. Wallace keeping the hopes alive, putting the pressure on Air Surfer. And then now we go back up to our upper bracket where all 4 of those players still have a life to give in our double elimination format. Vitor and Inthril will be our final match of the day. But coming up next, the big one. The defending world champion Mohamed Light up against Ian, who has taken one important step, but he needs to take some more. He needs to get to top 2 to be in that running for world finals, and had a great performance against Codigo. In my opinion, the best performance of his 2023 CRL run by far, but he has to come up with something even better, Juicy, as he comes up against the world champ.
Absolutely. You know, I've seen Ian beat Mohamed Light on ladder before. It's not something that he hasn't done, but I've never seen Ian beat Mohamed Light in a competition. These best of 3 duels, Mo Light is just so good with the deck mix, with the gameplay, with everything. Whenever Mo Light gets down in game 1 or even game 2, he's always got the game 3 to get the W, and I don't know, it's gonna be very difficult for Ian to break through. It's not impossible though. I believe in you, Ian. If you're watching the broadcast, you got this, man.
Well, keep in mind that this is double elimination, so Ian, if he does lose here, still has the ability to continue on in our lower bracket. But man, the gauntlet that you miss, not to mention the confidence you get if you beat Mohamed Light right here and put yourself 1 match win away from a world finals berth, that is absolutely massive. So we'll see what he can do in this one. Josh, as we get into it, you know, we have Mohamed Light, we have Ian, Mo, of course, with absolutely no pressure right now, but as we saw earlier, maybe a chip on his shoulder for one of the very few times in his CRL career.
Yeah, and you just don't want to, you don't want to give him anything. I mean, the fact that he lost, and yes, he finished 2nd place, so that's still pretty good. But any sort of motivation from him is so intimidating when you are his opponent and when you are trying to finish top 2 in order to qualify for World Finals. Everything is on the line right here for Ian. Yes, he can lose and then still make it through the lower bracket, but he doesn't want to do that. He wants to put his stamp on today.
And here's the matchup nobody suspected. Lava versus Lava for Mohamed Light versus Ian. Was that on your bingo card, Josh?
As a matter of fact, it was not. I had 24 open spots, and it still was not there.
So playing against type both of these two, and you know, I'm very curious. I've seen Mohamed Light play just about everything. I don't know if I've ever seen Ian play Lava. I've ever actually watched a game where he does it.
Yeah, it's incredibly, it's got to be incredibly uncommon for him, But, I mean, especially with how often these pros practice, you know that he knows how to play this matchup overall. And this is actually just such a fun matchup. Lava versus Lava is probably my favorite mirror match in the world because there are so many different ways to play this. Right here, he chooses to go Loon on the left side, but his opponent has the Inferno Dragon. Will he be able to get that shot? He does, so a little bit of damage for a pretty expensive push, and now he has to worry about this counterattack.
Bomber under Fireball will clear those off, and that's a problem. And Ian already calling good game here as he's going to take a lot of shots. Maybe, that one does get in, and huge early shots. Now, other wrinkle in this one, Josh, is we're seeing the Evolved Knight versus Evolved Barbarians. We're seeing the Fireball versus the Zap. So this one might be over, but there is, of course, a chance to reset, sneak through, get an interesting overwhelm. Is there a path to victory here for Ian, or are we just, is this all just hopeful thinking on his part?
Yeah, you can still get away with still winning this, but it does get a lot more difficult. The cycled arrows, as simple as it is, you can't really afford to, and right there misses the arrows himself, so this could be a little something. Going to have to use the Evoed Knight down low, and this is actually a decent push. A lot of troops on the board, and yeah, he's giving himself an opportunity to win this game.
A lot of elixir spent there by Mohamed Light. Suddenly, Lava Hound on the board, fairly healthy. So a good advantage overall. This Inferno Dragon will, of course, get some nasty burn up high. Zap to reset. And right now, Ian just trying to keep the pedal to the metal. Well-timed arrows. Balloon will come behind this, though.
There we go. Should be able to fireball this off and keep one of his skeleton dragons alive. There we go. Tower at 970. So he does have the opportunity to go in right here. The bomber behind is actually going to be kind of intimidating. Arrows to help out with the push, and that's going to get it down to 334. Not going to be able to spell cycle just yet, probably. But knowing Mo, he's going to know whether or not he can pull it off. Instead, both players setting up for one last push.
This is a big exchange, elixir and a half advantage going into it for Ian, trying to find some way to sneak this balloon through. Fireball down, and the Inferno Dragon does retarget to the Loon. The Loon not quite in range for death damage, 421 to 334.
Brilliant defense from Mo. I thought for sure that the Luna was going to lock onto the tower, get that death damage. Not going to be the case. Evo Knight in front. Barbs to block at the bridge, so great awareness from Ian. He's going to have to stop this from getting to the tower, and I don't think with the zap, he still stops it in time. Great defense from Ian.
Does this Inferno Dragon go down? It does. Second Inferno Dragon down. Arrows in. Loon will not get close enough. Fireball plus arrows will be the GG. Ian gave up some big damage early, 310. Man, the kind of match we could have had if that early damage didn't get in. Either way, we go to game 2, and Mohamed Light in control.
Woo. I love lava mirror matchups. It's just, there's so many different ways to play it, and really, you talked about it. If there was not that huge mistake at the beginning of the game, it could have been even crazier. So going into game number 2, we saw a brilliant game number 1. Hopefully we see the same in game number 2.
And Magic Archer getting some protection here from the Knight. Great value Magic Archer. NATO has to come out on Mohamed's side, but good damage, elixir lead. Excellent start for Ian in game 2.
That's right. Exactly what we want to see. We want to see a game 3. We want to see Mohamed Light pushed, and we also want to see Ian continue to succeed. Just as the storylines get crazier and crazier, and as this evolves, we want to see as much hecticness as possible.
And Golden Knight, second Golden Knight, or maybe third of the day. Kind of surprising to see the long-haired fella making this many appearances, given how out of the meta he's been for a while.
And Mohamed Light setting up with the Golem already, so no pumping from Mohamed Light, just going to recognize that Goleming now is the correct play he believes. Let's see if Ian tries to snipe with this with a Magic Archer. No, just going to elect to defend Baby Dragon as the support trooper for his Golem push.
And those evolved barbs to the left-hand side present a challenge. Great NATO there to help get the evolved barbs off the board. And really heads up play from Ian. His magic archer goes down though, and the baby dragon, lucky for him, the princess tower retargets Golemites just out of range to allow that retarget. That could have been devastating, Josh.
With 1 minute and 5 seconds left, Ian has played this really well, and a lot of just scary good defenses. I loved that NATO back. It allowed the barbs to get targeted by the bomb tower. Just great situational awareness. But now it's double elixir. He has another golem ready to go. He has defended the wall breakers, so he doesn't have to worry about that push, is what I thought. But great pressure from Ian, and that's going to be kind of scary for Mo. Going to force out the barbs right now and get chip damage from the Spear Goblins.
And this is great for Ian because he knows that he's up against Pump, which means there's really, oh, never mind, he's up against Lightning. Wow. But the Lightning does not get the Magic Archer. Does get the bomb tower off the board, but this will get NATO'd back, get back to another bomb tower without too much difficulty. No, opts to go Magic Archer instead, defend all of this, and set up potentially for the next defense or the next offense. Here we go. Going to be down to just under 1,300 HP against 1040 as we go into sudden death overtime.
And so now the question is, how does he want to play this golem? Elects to use it at the bridge right there. But now Ian has the potential to go in with the NATO plus the Magic Archer, getting it down to 356. Not going to get another shot, so Mo has one more opportunity to go in right here.
Not enough elixir for the Lightning. He might not want to spend this one here. Instead goes for the Overwhelm. Miner to pull Evo Barb's way inside, and now just trying to get the full downhill push. Two baby dragons. They will get on tower. That might be it. That might be it. Wow!
The tower targets... The tower targets onto the right baby dragon instead of the left one, and Mo is going to be able to survive with that push. I thought for sure that the tower was targeting onto the left one and the push was going to die out so quickly. Oh my goodness, Mo with a 2-0 sweep.
I mean, that's the big question. When Ian went for the Magic Archer damage, and as that golem came to the middle, it almost felt like that was a bait. Like Mo was going, you're not going to get enough to kill my tower, but you are going to spend 4 elixir that you won't have on defense. And I want to message him right now and find out if that was the thought process, because it really feels like that was what he was doing.
Yeah, and it's not even 4 elixir, it's 7 elixir. And now you don't have the tornado either, because that Magic Archer gets wasted. It's going to be taken out pretty easily. And the tornado gets out of cycle, so then your defense becomes that much more difficult. And he just knew that the support troops would be able to overwhelm, even with Ian's attempts at kiting. He had some great wall breakers that pulled away 2 or 3 of the barbs, plus one of the something troops, who even knows what it was. And right here, this is the push that I'm talking about. He does the miner. He finally gets that golden-haired, long-haired golden boy to get there. And it's a great attempt at a kite. It's just not enough. And look at this. The right baby dragon goes in front at just the right timing. That was spectacular.
And you can see the reaction from Mohamed Light. No matter how many times he wins, the wins keep on being thrilling for our world champion. And this is big now. This is Mohamed Light. Because think about, I mean, there are so many implications here. We'll talk about them in just a moment. But we go back to game number 1, this Lava Loon near mirror match. And Josh, it feels like other than that mistake early on, this was a chance for Ian to really take a win off of Mo.
That's right. I mean, the only differences between the decks are going to be the Fireball and the Zap. And so the Fireball allows... It gets weird. Between single and double elixir, the Zap is really good for resetting Inferno Dragons, and I think the Zap has to be better for single elixir, and the Fireball has to be better for double elixir. But right there, Ian... He wasted that loon at the beginning of the game, and instead of trying to set up the lava, because because he should have been able to recognize his opponent was using lava as well. He elects to go in with the loon instead. That was his major mistake in game number 1, and Mo was able to hold on just enough. And let's take a look at game number 2, because this is where everything went down. It was pretty much perfection from both players, and then just even more perfection from Mo. With your call out, I mean, just the golem at the bridge, he knew that he wasn't going to be able to get enough damage.
I mean, that has to be if I'm thinking of what are the reasons why Mohamed Light will play a golem at the bridge like that, that has to be the reason, right? You know that either you're going to just play another golem and put some stuff behind it, or you're creating a trap. And Ian stepped right into that trap. And look, Ian's known as the best hog cycle player, hog EQ player on the planet. Hog EQ is an aggressive deck. It's a deck where you take offensive moments, and we saw in both games, whether it was the Loon play from Ian early or the Magic Archer being played there for the tower damage, both of those were very aggressive plays and games and in moments that didn't require aggression, that required a different response, and Mo takes advantage of that. Juicy. Very interesting. We'll break down sort of the implications of this match here in a moment, but thoughts on what we just saw between Mo and Ian?
You know, I feel like Mohamed Light's just got that main character energy, man. You know, that baby dragon at the end, if that tower could have just targeted that left side baby dragon, maybe Ian could have found a way to defend. But no, Mo with a massive push. It was a do or die situation. He had to take the tower with that push, or else he was going to lose to the Magic Archer, the NATO chip, with that tower being so low, and he just makes it happen. It was a beautiful play from Mo there. Well played.
Well, beautiful play indeed. Nothing less than we expect. And of course, that's going to move Mohamed Light once again deep into our bracket. Mohamed Light now in the upper bracket finals, which means, well, even if he loses, he is guaranteed top 3. Now, this is fascinating, folks, because Ian does drop down to the lower bracket, where this is Ian versus Wallace. If Wallace wins against Ian, he is in. If Ian wins, he has one step closer to making our world finals. But keep in mind that Mohamed Light guaranteed spot in the top 3. If Mo once again wins, he could give a golden ticket to somebody else one more time, which then makes things even crazier. So Ian and Wallace still alive. If Vitor stays alive as well, that's actually kind of in reverse, almost really good news for Airsurf, who wants one of those guys to win a golden ticket to open up another spot. We'll get into all this craziness tomorrow, as the scenarios are going to be insane. But right now, we're down to 5. We will have our 6th person decided here, or we're down to 6. We will have our upper bracket decided here in just a moment. You can hear my excitement, guys. This is exactly what we hope for. A crazy race to the end.
It's everything you could ask for. You need all 3 of these players, because even Vitor, yes, he has the golden ticket locked up, but if he wins everything, then there's one more player that there's just so much going on. I just gotta say, I'm so excited for all of that. Yeah, so let's talk about the actual game that's going on. So we have Wallace, and believe it or not, I've already forgot who it was. Who's his opponent? Anybody want to help me out with this?
It's Vitor and Inthril.
Well, that's right. Vitor and Inthril. I gotta say, I might be just as excited as you are, Rich.
Well, I'll leave you guys to it. Here we go. Last match of the day, Vitor and Inthril.
Wallbreaker's back from Inthril and a Prince. So it's going to be that Mega Knight deck that we saw him use earlier. I believe it was him. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe I'm crazy. We got Vitor with the Hog EQ, though. Overall, this Mega Knight deck from Inthril is actually made to kind of counter these quicker cycle decks like this Hog deck. So I would say Inthril probably has a pretty good matchup here so far, especially having those arrows for the Firecracker.
That's right. A decent start from both players, getting the towers down to 2,400 and 2,300 respectively. Inthril just going to apply a little bit of pressure. Ghost going to be able to cross the bridge and actually protect the wall breaker fully. So decent offense. And I mean, especially with these minor wall breakers decks, you want a lot of pressure on both lanes. So a good spot for him for sure.
These bats are scary. He does have the snowball for it, though. A lot of the time, the bats can be a big factor in this matchup. But Vitor having the snowball, definitely going to be able to control it. Inthril up a bit of elixir, though. Let's see what he decides to do with it. No, wait a second. Vitor is going in with the hog. I think this is game over. I'm not gonna lie. I think this is game over. I think this Mega Knight push is gonna be too much for Vitor to stop. He's down so much elixir.
Yeah, this is a slightly big problem. It's just, how does he activate the King Tower? We go with the Ice Spirit right there. Can he activate?
Wait. Is it gonna... Oh, it goes to the left. That's tower. It's over.
Wow, and right there, huge mistake from Vitor. Valk is gonna be... It's better if the Valk had just not even been played, because now he gets more value with the Firecracker, and that's going to be tower almost confirmed, almost locked up with 1 minute to go. Inthral's tower is still fairly healthy, and he still has a Mega Knight that can just be plopped down on the ground and apply pressure for the next 20 seconds.
Time and time again, when I'm using Hog EQ and Ladder, I lose to that exact same scenario to this Mega Knight deck. You're just too over-aggressive with your Hog Rider. You think that it's a good play, but Vitor just not understanding that he was down too much elixir. And that Hog just ended up eating the counter push. Firecracker gonna chip out and finish off this left side tower. He's gonna pressure the opposite lane. I just don't think it's gonna be enough though.
Yeah, even with the snowball to help out, Firecracker going to walk in front of the Valk. So that's going to be 2 Valks down the lane. Can he get the Hog down as well? We'll see it. It's just probably not going to be enough. Prince? No, Ghost. Hog Rider could be something. It can get the last shot. He's going to take the tower.
Mega Knight's jumping on the Goblins though. He does not have enough for the Valkyrie. Now the Mega Knight's taking the right side tower. Here comes the Wall Breakers. This is not how I expect this game to go down, but it looks like it's going to be a 2-tower game. Inthril going to be your victor in game 1, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, Inthril with great awareness, because yes, he's given up the left tower. Yes, he probably should have been able to defend that better, but when you recognize your tower is going down, what are you supposed to do in that situation? Are you supposed to over defend? No, you're supposed to go aggressive on the right lane. That's what he did, and got enough pressure to take the tower. So yes, the defense wasn't great, but also yes, because he made a great play in going for the right one.
Honestly, the biggest thing in that match there for Vitor to almost make that comeback was the Goblins at the end there. The Goblin surround was slightly just milliseconds too late. They went down in a situation where the Mega Knight was starting the jump animation towards the tower. And once that jump animation started, it's gonna finish, and it killed all the Goblins, making it so the Valkyrie was not able to come down in time, and the comeback was not possible.
So Vitor waiting, leaking quite a bit of elixir, an extra 2 elixir than his opponent at the time. And Vitor with Golden Knight and Barbs as the only 2 cards shown. Inthril, this is going to be Goblin Giant, Sparky most times. Sometimes it's only Goblin Giant, Mini P.E.K.K.A. though.
I think it's just the Goblin Giant Mini P.E.K.K.A. beatdown deck, and beatdown he's getting to this tower. No, the freeze gonna drop in defense, kind of preventing that rage from getting too much value. Mini P.E.K.K.A. does get 1 shot on the tower, and he does get a tornado for the King Tower activation as well. Here comes the Dark Prince at the bridge though. Baby Dragon's still alive, but he's very low on elixir. Dark Prince is going to charge into this tower for some pretty solid damage. Overall, Vitor up a bit of elixir. Not very much though, and he's taking a lot. I mean, talk to me about Vitor's deck. Is this a Graveyard freeze deck? And is Graveyard able to make this comeback, Josh?
Yeah, so I mean, the fact that he doesn't have Lumberjack makes me think it's not going to be Graveyard Loon, but we've already seen Graveyard Freeze. But the Golden Knight isn't terrible at like applying pressure with the Loon, so I'm still going to lean towards Loon, even though I think it makes more sense for it to be Graveyard.
Yeah, if it is Graveyard, it's gonna be difficult for for Vitor to break through that Mother Witch. He's gonna have to get some pretty creative freezes down on the Mother Witches in order to be able to break through, but Intro also has that Fireball. Here comes that Graveyard. Is this Mother Witch gonna stay alive though? It will, and the freeze is not in cycle. This is a huge mistake from Vitor. There's gonna be a lot of piggies coming down this lane.
Yeah, that is a mistake that you just cannot afford to make. Luckily, the bowler is going to be able to get a really clean first shot and should be able to defend. I don't even think it's going to be able to defend the right side. I think this looks like tower down.
Inthril playing out of his mind here in this game number 2. Perfect pressure on that Evo Knight is just so OP. It's tanking absolutely everything. That one mistake by Vitor to go in for the Graveyard when the Mother Witch was not going to die is all that it took. And it's basically a 3-crown, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, Inthril with a 2-0 sweep. A massive situation for Inthro. You know, Vitor is already qualified, but if you're Air Surfer at home, you got to be cringing a little bit here because you wanted Vitor to win this golden ticket.
That's right. Inthrill with a clean 2-0 sweep. So impressed with his gameplay today. I mean, he did everything right, and basically he just capitalized on opponents' mistakes. We really thought it was going to be the opposite way right there, with Vitor capitalizing on Inthrill's mistakes, but not the case. Well done to him. And yeah, I really liked what I saw today from Inthrill. Let's take a look at some of these replays. Vitor, there was a lot of potential opportunities for great plays, but instead, he just never made them.
Yeah, the Firecracker misclicked slightly there. Valkyrie was able to let the Mega Knight splash. He made a crazy comeback, but this Goblin surround, the Mega Knight was able to jump anyways. It must have started the Mega Knight jump animation before the Ice Spear was able to freeze. And that's what all it took in game number 1. In game number 2, I wasn't a big fan of the deck selection from Vitor here, and I was even less of a fan of the gameplay. I mean, this matchup is not impossible to win, as long as you can get a freeze down the Mother Witch when you go for your pushes. But what you don't do is you don't freeze a Mother Witch and then go for a Graveyard, and that's what he did, and that's what allowed for this massive counter push that really just just gave Inthro the game.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what it was. It was just given away. That's something that you're taught day one as a Graveyard Freeze player. Look, if my opponent has Mother Witch, either I Graveyard and I freeze the Mother Witch, or I do not Graveyard. That's how to play Graveyard Freeze. And right there, just a huge macro error from Vitor. And, you know, he's got to be kind of sad, but I think he's still happy with how this year went, especially knowing that he is going to be playing again on the big stage in a couple of months. Let's take a look at game number 1. Inthrill was able to steal the victory with a clean defense, and as soon as it happened, as soon as the Mega Knight was down on the board, you were talking about it. Oh, he doesn't have enough, and that was shown right there. Mega Knight plus Miner plus Evo to Firecracker pressure. All of those troops played really well together, synergized really well, and he was able to take a very easy game number 1.
You know, looking at game number 2 is a similar situation. I know Rich is sitting back waiting to talk about this, but I'm gonna steal it from him. Inthrill, he's known for sniping. That's exactly what he's done in game number 1 and game number 2 here. That Mega Knight deck so good versus Doggy Q, having the arrows for the Firecracker. In this game number 2, he has the Mother Witch for the Graveyard. You cannot ask for a better counter to Graveyard in a deck, in a game of Clash Royale.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really like the Goblin Giant no Sparky. I think there's a lot of potential for it to be kind of a staple in the meta. You can get a lot of cool matchups. The thing is, though, when your opponent... Well, actually, I was going to say, when your opponent has access to NATO, that's when you have to be a little intimidated. But, you know, if NATO, Magic Archer, if those cards are out, Goblin Giant Mini P.E.K.K.A. might be in. Rich, welcome back. The day's over, but we still got some more tomorrow.
Oh, yes, we do. Some crazy work tomorrow because we still have a golden ticket to give away, and we have one player who's golden ticket or bust in a brilliant spot to get it. We still have points to go ahead and achieve, and not to mention all of that, seeding for World Finals. What the matchups will be at World Finals will all be decided tomorrow, and cherry on top, the CRCC, the Chinese Championship, is taking place overnight, and the final 6 players will battle it out to the final 2, and we have former world finalists like AUK and higher in the hunt for those 2 spots. So we're going to get a lot of information by the time that tomorrow ends, and I am pumped for it. Let's first take a look at our bracket, and I'm just going to take a moment here, fellas, and break down a couple very important things. First, Ian versus Wallace is a very, very important matchup. If Wallace wins, he guarantees himself a top 4, guarantees himself a spot at World Finals, and that's absolutely massive for him. Ian still needs to win multiple matches to make that top 2. He has to win this one, the lower semis, and the lower finals to make it to that top 2. On the other side of things, Mohamed Light in the upper finals against Inthrill it's very possible that Inthral's already guaranteed top 3. If he can pull off the craziest upset ever, he will be in the grand finals. Otherwise, he goes down to that lower final, and you have 4 veterans all trying to go through this rookie and get that world finals spot. Of course, keep in mind, Vitor, the big wild card here, already into world finals. If he can win the golden ticket, he opens up a 2nd point spot to go through, and it could be either Wallace and Air Surfer or Ian and Air Surfer who go through. So situations upon situations upon situations, and as we look at the points, talking about those situations, Vitor has added points now to make himself up into the top 4 overall for our leaderboard, which moves him up a couple of seeds. So we'll get the seeding stuff done tomorrow as well, but that seeding's critical. Right now, if things hold, Air Surfer faces Mohamed Light in the first round at Worlds. Vitor will have a shot. I'm not sure if it's against one of our CRCC players or one of our golden ticket winners, but seeds now come into discussion heavily as well, and they affect everybody. Boys, tomorrow is going to be insane. Juicy, I know you can't wait.
I really can't. You know, there's so much going on. There's so much to keep track of. But more than anything, I'm just excited to see the gameplay. I've been so fascinated by Inthral's gameplay today. Mohamed Light playing fantastically. Ian and Wallace also doing quite well in the losers bracket. You know, anything can happen tomorrow, and I'm here for anything, any situation. I just can't wait to watch it.
Speaking of doing quite well, one of our longest standing veterans in all of Clash Royale League brought us our play of the day. Let's take a look at this great moment from Cody Go. Juicy, I know you loved this one. I'll let you go ahead and talk us through it. This is the big Golem push against Black Pearl.
So the one thing that we talked about a little bit was the Musketeers placed too far up. That first wave of the Musketeers. The second thing I want to talk about is the mistake from Black Pearl, to play the Musketeers in the middle there. Instead of the middle, he should have played it behind his King Tower to prevent the tornado. But Cody Go takes full advantage, tornadoes it directly into the double E-Drag, the Lumberjack Rage, and the tower is just gone. I mean, it was perfect gameplay from Cody Go, taking advantage of the couple mistakes here from Black Pearl.
Absolutely huge. Josh, this was the called play of the day. Do you feel like it's earned that moniker, or did something else stand out to you as a bigger moment than this one?
I can't remember what the play was. I've been racking my brain throughout. This was my 2nd play of the day. There was one that I thought was even more special, but I've got nothing. So I can't tell you what my actual answer is.
All right. Well, congrats on play of the day for Cody Go. And of course, Cody Go, one of 2 players who still needs golden ticket or go home to make it to world finals. So we'll be keeping a close eye on him as we get into tomorrow. Josh, final thoughts before we wrap up the show.
Well, I just want to say, Rich, put away the clippers and the scissors, because I don't want you to lose your hair as you wait for tomorrow. It's only 20 hours to go, and then we are going to see some of the most magnificent Clash Royale we have ever seen. Everything is on the line for these players, and they all want to be at Worlds. Wallace, he wasn't there last year. He wants to be there this year. Vitor, 4 years in a row, but can he get it with a golden ticket? Ian has to finish top 2. There's so much going on, and I cannot wait for the action tomorrow.
Juicy, we're going to sign off in a moment, but final question, hot seat. Who makes it to World Finals?
Who makes it to World Finals? I gotta go. I mean, obviously, Vitor is going there already. My guess is that we're going to be seeing Wallace and Air Surfer at the World Finals. Hopefully, Vitor is able to get that golden ticket to open up that opportunity for that to happen.
Well, we only have one way to find out, and that's come right back here tomorrow. Same time, same place, the conclusion of the regular season. Multiple players making it to World Finals. We find out who comes and joins us for China. It's going to be a great day. Don't you miss it. For everybody here, Joshua, AC, Sharon, Jackson, Juicy, J. Wall, the squad of the production booth making this show happen. I'm Rich Slayton. We'll see you back here tomorrow for the conclusion of our Clash Royale League 2023 regular season. Problem for him, and now Mo just throws pressure upon pressure. GG, well played. Welcome to Clash Royale League Black Pearl.
Drill on the defense here. No, he's just going on the offense. He wants to go for the kill. He goes for roll delivery on the defense. Megaminion not gonna be enough to stop this. And that is going to be game, ladies and gentlemen. Ian taking a 2-1 best of 3 versus the veteran Cody Go.
Mortar deploy 1844. Mortar does get one shot on tower. It will not be enough. GG, well played. Vitor, already a world finalist in 2023, looking to put a cherry on top with a win right here. And just gonna go ahead and reset, I guess, for the next round and hope that he can pull it out. Needs 2 wins so far, not putting any on the board for this weekend.
Wow, what a set from Inthro.
And now just trying to get the full downhill push. 2 baby dragons. They will get on tower. That might be it. That might be it. Wow.
That one mistake by Vitor to go in for the Graveyard when the Mother Witch was not going to die is all that it took. And it's basically a 3 crown, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, Inthro with a 2-0 sweep.
Oh.